Chapter 720. Zhai Yao had never seen Yang Kai's true face before, so it wasn't surprising that he couldn't recognize him at this moment. Yang Kai chuckled and greeted him. Hearing his voice, Zhai Yao immediately woke up and shook his head with a wry smile. "It turns out you've never shown your true face, you're quite vigilant." Saying so, his eyes narrowed, and although his expression was indifferent, it was difficult to hide the shock in them as he quickly asked, "I see that Brother Yang is a little different from before. Could it be you've broken through to the transcendent realm?" His vision was quite sharp and he immediately saw the problem. "It was a fluke," Yang Kai smiled modestly, not concealing anything. Both Zhang Yin and Fei Yu were shocked. Only now did they realize that Yang Kai had really reached the transcendent realm. Just now, they had been so happy with Yang Kai's safe return that neither of them had noticed this. The two of them also cheered up. "Little brat, if I gave you another 10 or 20 years, I'm afraid you'd be able to catch up to your martial uncle." Zhang Yin laughed and patted Yang Kai on the shoulder, an expression of satisfaction on his face that Soaring Heaven sect had finally found a successor. "Brother Yang, you didn't really stay in the star field for a year, right?" Zhai Yao asked with some uncertainty. Even though he had witnessed Yang Kai's powerful physique, he still couldn't believe that he could safely spend so long in the star field. But if that wasn't the case, how could Yang Kai's cultivation have broken through a great realm? "And I encountered an accident there and only found my way back a few days ago," Yang Kai nodded. Zhai Yao's expression was one of shock, speechless to the extreme. He had struggled desperately in the star field for 3 months before finally being unable to hold on any longer and returning to Tongxian realm through the void corridor. Even so, after returning he was praised by his master for a long time. Zhai Yao himself also felt that such a result was enough to be proud of. But now, compared to Yang Kai, the difference was obvious. Star field. Zhang Yin and Fei Yu were stunned and looked at them in disbelief. "Did you just say star field? Could it be that you went there?" "Sit down and talk." Yang Kai chuckled. Everyone wanted to know the secrets of the star field. Zhang Yin and Fei Yu were no exception. The four of them sat down. Yang Kai told them about all the miraculous things he had encountered in star field. Not only did Zhang Yin and Fei Yu listen with great interest, even Zhai Yao, who had also been to star field before, was listening attentively. Many of the wonderful things that Yang Kai had encountered were things that he had never seen before. During the 3 months in star field, Zhai Yao had spent most of his time beside the void corridor, tempering his body while preparing to evacuate at a moment's notice. Unlike Yang Kai, who acted as if he didn't know the difference between life and death, running all over the place and encountering the devastating star field storm. Hearing that the star field storm had crushed hundreds of thousands of meteorites in an instant, everyone's faces turned pale. They found it hard to imagine how Yang Kai had survived such a disaster in the star field. Even a Saint Realm master who was caught in such a storm would have no choice but to die. But not only had Yang Kai survived, he had become even stronger than before. Yang Kai didn't explain in detail what had happened in the star field storm, only explaining that he had brushed past the edge of the storm and suffered some injuries. After all, this was related to the great demon god's bone and demon god blood, so Yang Kai didn't dare reveal it casually. Taking out 4 drops of the 1,000-year demon flower's medicinal liquid, Yang Kai put them into a jade bottle and handed it to Zhang Yin. In front of him was an existence that could be described as a saint, one that was revered by all living beings in the world. After a long time, Old Man Li suddenly waved his hand. Yang Kai clearly noticed that an invisible force had enveloped the entire room. From the inside he could see what was going on outside, but from the outside he couldn't hear the slightest thing from inside. His expression becoming serious, Yang Kai suddenly realized that this white-haired old man in front of him was not only a top-level alchemist, but also a master with an extremely high cultivation. "I heard Yao say that little brother is a disciple of Soaring Heaven sect?" Li Lao asked. "Yes," Yang Kai nodded. "If this old master is so bold as to ask, was little friend born in Soaring Heaven sect or did you only join the sect recently?" Old Man Li suddenly asked a seemingly random question. Yang Kai stared at Li Lao in amazement. "How does Senior know?" "I really only joined the sect recently, about a year and a half ago." "Sure enough." Li Lao nodded lightly. "Good, I won't tell you the specific reason for now, I'll explain it to you later. This old master will ask you one more time, do you have a conflagrated knowledge, see?" As soon as this statement came out, Zhai Yao's face was filled with shock as he turned to look at Yang Kai in horror. Yang Kai chuckled. "Senior's vision is indeed sharp. When you saw this junior before, Senior must have already noticed it, right? And those who possess a conflagrated knowledge see are able to sense each other." The higher one's strength is, the stronger this sense is, so this old master was able to detect it. However, you don't need to worry as long as you don't use your conflagrated knowledge see casually, even a Saint Realm master won't find it easy to spy on you. You really have a conflagrated knowledge see? Jia Yao's eyes widened. Yang Kai nodded. You little brat, you really make one envious, Yang Kai grinned bitterly. Di Yao smiled bitterly. A conflagrated knowledge see was something he dreamt of having because he had witnessed the various mysteries of conflagrated knowledge see from his master. When it came to alchemy, what kind of help could a conflagrated knowledge see provide? As an alchemist with excellent aptitude, how could Di Yao not want one? However, this kind of thing wasn't something that could be obtained just because one wanted it. A conflagrated knowledge see was a kind of mutation of one's divine sense and was largely dependent on coincidences. Over the years, Li Lao had made many preparations for Jia Yao and made many efforts, but Jia Yao's divine sense remained the same, without the slightest change. What can you do with your conflagrated knowledge see now? Li Lao asked again. Yang Kai scratched his cheek and said somewhat embarrassedly, catching others off guard and sneaking up on them. Li Lao laughed heartily, appearing extremely happy. Not bad, not bad, this is indeed one of the wonderful uses of a conflagrated knowledge see. A mutated divine sense is much more lethal than an ordinary divine sense. Even if an enemy is stronger than you, if they are not prepared, they will still suffer a great loss. Even their soul may be incinerated, which is a great danger to anyone. However, this is only one of its uses. Did you know that the greatest use of a conflagrated knowledge see is in alchemy or artifact forging? Junior has thought of it before, but I don't know how to use it. Yang Kai's expression became solemn as he respectfully said, Please enlighten me, senior. Li Lao smiled and nodded. He was very satisfied with Yang Kai's eagerness to learn. This time I called you here precisely to pass on my experience in this area to you. Release your knowledge see's defenses, Li Lao said softly. Yang Kai's expression became serious as he hurriedly held his breath and opened the door to his knowledge sea. Li Lao's expression also became serious as he slowly extended his middle finger. An inexplicable energy burst forth from the tip of his finger, flickering with a little bit of fluorescent light. That finger gently touched Yang Kai's forehead. Yang Kai's body trembled as he instantly felt a pure energy carrying a huge amount of information pour into his mind. Not daring to hesitate, Yang Kai hurriedly began to investigate. This information was all of Li Lao's many years of experience in studying the conflagrated knowledge sea, how to use it in alchemy, and how to use it reasonably. All kinds of insights, all kinds of experiences, were extremely precious. Yang Kai was immersed in his investigation and gradually gained some understanding of the wonderful uses of the conflagrated knowledge sea in alchemy. It was impossible to investigate such a huge amount of information in a short period of time. After all, this was the summary of Li Lao's several hundred years of experience, and now he had unreservedly imparted it all to Yang Kai. As time passed, the room was quiet. Whether it was Li Lao or Jia Yao, neither spoke to disturb him, all of them holding their breaths and quietly waiting. Chapter 721. After a long time, Yang Kai's eyes suddenly regained their clarity and a thoughtful look flashed across his face. Reaching out, he summoned out his pill furnace and took out a few herbs from the black book space. Conflagrated knowledge sea burst out and wrapped around these herbs. Under the scorching heat, these herbs were quickly condensed into medicinal liquids which were then placed into the pill furnace in an orderly manner. His conflagrated knowledge sea then wrapped around the pill furnace and the medicinal liquids began to fuse and transform. A moment later, a fresh pill fragrance filled the room. With a soft sound, a round pill flew out from the pill furnace. Yang Kai grabbed it and carefully examined it, a smile appearing on his face. A spirit-grade pill. Compared to using yuan qi to refine pills in the past, this was much faster and more convenient. The time taken to refine pills was greatly reduced. On top of that, Yang Kai could feel that if he practiced and used his conflagrated knowledge sea well, the quality of the pills he refined would also be much higher. Using conflagrated knowledge sea to perform alchemy was on a completely different level from using yuan qi. Throughout the entire process, Li Lao and Jia Yao were also completely absorbed. Jia Yao watched in amazement. Even though he had seen his master use conflagrated knowledge sea to perform alchemy countless times, he still couldn't help feeling amazed. For someone like him who didn't have such an advantage, naturally he was quite envious of Yang Kai's qualifications. Li Lao also nodded approvingly, his eyes shining brightly. Yang Kai's comprehension ability and aptitude made him feel that his experience was not a lie. Yang Kai would definitely be able to thoroughly understand his experience and develop his own insights and developments based on it. Many thanks for Li Lao's guidance. Yang Kai put away the spirit-grade pill and cupped his fists respectfully. Haha, little brother is too polite. This old master actually has conditions for teaching you this? Li Lao smiled lightly. Please speak, Li Lao. This old master wants to ask, how did your conflagrated knowledge see come to be? Moreover, from the strength of your conflagrated spiritual energy, it seems to be not inferior to this old master's at all. It was hard for me to imagine that you could cultivate your conflagrated knowledge see to such an extent. If it's convenient, can you tell this old man about it? Yang Kai pondered for a moment and said, well, about the first question, it actually came up by accident. I once had a piece of jade true spirit and wanted to devour its energy to increase my cultivation base and battle prowess. But I didn't expect that during that cultivation, I would accidentally cultivate a conflagrated spiritual energy. Jade true spirit? Li Lao's expression changed. You've got guts. How dare you swallow something like that? I didn't think too much about it at the time. Now that I think about it, it was indeed quite dangerous. Yang Kai grinned. Fortunately, the jade true spirit wasn't too strong. Otherwise I would have died. Li Lao nodded slightly and pondered. It turns out that devouring a jade true spirit can also give birth to a conflagrated knowledge see, but this method is still a bit too risky. He asked this obviously because he wanted to help Jia Yao obtain a conflagrated knowledge see. Yang Kai's method was not suitable for Jia Yao. Not to mention whether it was dangerous or not. Even if there was no danger, there was no guarantee that Jia Yao would be able to produce a conflagrated knowledge see. The element of coincidence was too big. As for the second question, Yang Kai slowly said, the reason why my conflagrated knowledge see can be comparable to Li Lao's is because I devoured it. I think it's probably because I devoured other people's conflagrated knowledge see and not because I cultivated it myself. Devoured other people's conflagrated knowledge see? Li Lao paled. Li Lao misunderstood. I didn't take it by force. In a certain place, many cultivator with conflagrated knowledge see died. Their spiritual energy was preserved and I was able to devour it by chance, Yang Kai explained. Your opportunity really makes one jealous. Jia Yao said with envy. In this world, although it was rare to find a cultivator with a variant conflagrated knowledge see, there were always a few. It could only be said that the only high-level alchemists with conflagrated knowledge see were Yang Kai and Li Lao. Perhaps there were others with conflagrated knowledge see, but they were not proficient in alchemy and could only use it in battle. This old master understands. Li Lao nodded slightly. Many thanks to little brother for answering this old master's doubts. This has been a great help to this old master. Li Lao is too polite. This junior has also benefited a lot from Li Lao. Yang Kai quickly said, thinking about it for a moment before asking, is there something else senior wanted to tell me? Before, Li Lao had guessed that Yang Kai had only recently joined Soaring Heaven sect, but he had not revealed the reason, which made Yang Kai somewhat concerned. A person like Li Lao would not say such nonsense, so since he had done so, there must be some profound meaning behind it. And this matter may or may not be related to you, Li Lao chuckled, reaching out and taking out a spirit pill and handing it to Yang Kai. Yang Kai took it and examined it carefully, asking in amazement, isn't this the spirit pill I refined? This spirit pill was the one he had refined when he competed with Jia Yao in the inn last time and still had pill veins on it. If it is convenient for little friend, could you please depict the spirit array used to refine the spirit pill? Li Lao said kindly, rest assured this old master is not trying to pry into your knowledge, he just has some doubts. There's nothing inconvenient about it. Yang Kai chuckled. In front of a character like Li Lao, he felt very assured. Circulating his yuan qi, he began to inscribe the spirit array he had used before inside the pill furnace. Soon after the spirit array was inscribed, Yang Kai handed over the pill furnace. Li Lao took it and examined it, a thoughtful look appearing on his face before he casually handed the pill furnace to Jia Yao. Take a look. Jia Yao, with a confused look on his face, took the pill furnace and began examining it. A moment later, he couldn't help letting out a light sigh, as if he had discovered something interesting. What's wrong? Yang Kai was confused by this master and disciple duo. Interesting. Jia Yao looked at Yang Kai with a smile. The spirit array Brother Yang used is slightly different from the one we use now. It seems to be a very ancient technique. Yes. Li Lao nodded slightly. It is indeed a very ancient spirit array, one that has been lost for many generations. Compared to the spirit array we use now, it is undoubtedly more useful. I learned it from a very ancient book. Yang Kai explained, Li Lao, if you want, I can inscribe all the spirit arrays I know. Old Li chuckled, there's no need for that. I'm not asking you this because I covet your knowledge, but because Yao, and I have seen this kind of spirit array before, so I think it might be related to you. Yang Kai frowned, I'd like to hear the details. Brother Yang, it's like this. Zhai Yao continued, since I was a child, I have been cultivating with my master in the mountains, learning the alchemic way. After 20 years, a few years ago, my master decided to take me out of the mountains to experience the world. I have always felt that with my alchemy skills I am invincible among my peers in this world, but in Floating Cloud City I lost to Brother Yang, and before that I lost to another person just 2 years ago. Yang Kai was shocked when he heard this. There is someone who is better than Brother Zhai in alchemy? Yes, what makes me most depressed is that that person was a woman. Zhai Yao looked at Yang Kai with a smile. Yang Kai was stunned, but suddenly, as if he remembered something, his eyes lit up and he eagerly asked, what kind of woman? I don't know, that woman was wearing a veil, her forehead was decorated with a sapphire, and her eyes were very bright and clear. She should be a beauty, but she looked a little delicate. Yang Kai's breathing gradually became rapid as he asked in a trembling voice, was there a lecherous old man by her side? Lecherous. Zhai Yao looked at him blankly. It was probably lecherous in any case. That old man gave off a feeling of disrespect. Is that old man surnamed Meng? Yang Kai took a deep breath. Sure enough, he is related to little brother. Li Lao gently nodded. When this old master saw the traces of the spirit array used in this spirit pill, he had some guesses but he wasn't sure. Now it seems that little brother and that young lady are from the same family? After all, the spirit arrays you use are the same. And that's my senior sister. Yang Kai nodded heavily. There was no mistake, 2 years ago the one who defeated Zhai Yao in alchemy was definitely Xianing Chang. In this world only Xianing Chang could achieve such a feat, there was no one else. Which sect are you all from? Why are you all so strong? Di Yao wore a speechless expression. That woman is one thing, but it seems she was born with a different physique. When it comes to alchemy she doesn't need a pill furnace at all. She can simply gather the surrounding world energy and refine pill veins at will. I competed with her 3 times, but the result was a crushing defeat, a heavy blow to my confidence. But you're even more extraordinary, actually possessing an advantage like your conflagrated knowledge. See, I simply can't compare to you, senior sister and junior brother. She does indeed have a special physique, one that was specially born for alchemy. Yang Kai nodded, his heart filled with excitement. After searching for so long he finally found a useful clue. Sacred spirit medicine body. Li Lao suddenly exclaimed, no wonder. It turns out she has the sacred spirit medicine body. In time, her achievements will definitely surpass this old master's, yet that old bastard Meng Wuya is still being so secretive and unwilling to reveal it to this old master. Yang Kai's expression changed. From the way Li Lao addressed Meng Wuya, the two seemed to have known each other for a long time, and were even of the same generation. Senior, when you met them, did you see anyone else? I still have a senior sister and a friend with them. Could it be they're also proficient in alchemy? Zhai Yao asked with a bitter expression. No, Yang Kai shook his head. I didn't see them. Meng Wuya seems to only have that little girl surnamed Xia with him. Yang Kai's expression sank, his heart filled with impatience. If Meng Wuya had Xianing Chang with him, then what about Su Yan? What about the old demon? Where had the two of them gone? There was no need to worry about the old demon. He was originally from Tongshen realm and had even occupied the body of a demon general. Besides a Saint Realm master, no one could hurt him, but Su Yan was different. She was a lone woman and her strength wasn't particularly high. What if she encountered some kind of danger? What was the reason for her being separated from Meng Wuya? Or had she encountered some kind of accident? Yang Kai's heart suddenly sank to the bottom of his stomach as his imagination began to run wild. Chapter 722. Seemingly aware of Yang Kai's impatience, Li Lao hurriedly offered a few words of comfort. Yang Kai also knew that it was useless to think about these things right now. Only by finding Meng Wuya and asking him would he be able to learn more about the situation. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai's mood gradually calmed down and he asked, Li Lao, where did you and Brother Zhai meet them? Blue Water City. Blue Water City? Yang Kai frowned. And it's about a few months away from here, but even if you look for them now you may not be able to find them. We met them 2 years ago when Meng Wuya said he would be leaving Blue Water City soon. By now he should have already left. Li Lao said with some regret. Judging from Yang Kai's demeanor and mood, Meng Wuya and that little girl surnamed Xia must be very important to him. In any case, this is a clue after all. I've been looking for them for a long time but haven't been able to find any clues, so I think I should go and take a look, Yang Kai said seriously. Very well, Li Lao smiled and nodded, then I wish little brother all the best. Thank you for your kind words, Li Lao. Yang Kai cupped his fists. After bidding farewell to Li Lao and Zhai Yao, Yang Kai hurriedly returned to the inn. This time, obtaining such a valuable clue from Li Lao was a pleasant surprise, so Yang Kai didn't want to delay any longer. After informing Zhang Yin and Fei Yu, he immediately set off for Blue Water City. Zhang Yin and Fei Yu both knew that Yang Kai was looking for their two senior sisters. Now that he had a clue, although the chances were slim, they didn't stop him and instead offered to escort Yang Kai. Yang Kai refused. The medicinal liquid of the 1,000-year demon flower, it had taken him more than a year to bring it back. His 4 martial uncles and martial aunt were all waiting for this to break through to the Saint Realm, so how could Yang Kai allow him to delay their important matters? Yang Kai's attitude was firm, so Zhang Yin and Fei Yu had no choice but to agree. They repeatedly reminded him to pay attention to his safety and to tell them if he was wronged outside. Feeling the concern of his martial uncles, Yang Kai felt warmth in his heart. Acting alone in the outside world, Yang Kai was very experienced. For so many years, it could be said that he had basically been roaming the world by himself. After a simple packing, Yang Kai immediately set off. Outside Floating Cloud City, Zhang Yin and Fei Yu watched Yang Kai leave before also heading back to Soaring Heaven Sect. They too had to return to prepare for their breakthrough to the Saint Realm. In the City Lord's mansion, Li Lao and Zhai Yao also bid farewell to Ao Gu and the others. He embarked on the path of traveling the world. Flying as fast as lightning, Yang Kai was burning with anxiety. Although he knew his chances were slim, Yang Kai still used all of his strength to hurry along. All he wanted to do was reach Blue Water City as soon as possible and see if he could obtain any useful clues there. Crossing the famous mountains and rivers, crossing the rivers and streams. Yang Kai's speed was like lightning. Now that his cultivation had reached the transcendent realm, his speed was much faster than before. Moreover, in places where no one could see him, Yang Kai would also display his wind and thunder wings to increase his speed. The transcendent realm was not a low realm, but in Tongxian realm where transcendence could enter the Saint Realm, it was still not enough to dominate the world. Yang Kai estimated. He needed to cultivate to the Saint Realm at the very least. Only then would he be able to travel unimpeded here. He needed to become stronger, and stronger in order to have a foothold in this world. Although he was now in Soaring Heaven Sect and his ancestral founder and martial uncles were very good to him, in the end this was not his foundation. What he wanted was the kind of strength that belonged to him. As time passed by, Yang Kai's anxious mood gradually calmed down. After his mood calmed down, Yang Kai suddenly felt enlightened, his previous perseverance and self-confidence returning to him. He felt that as long as he was given enough time, one day he would be able to stand at the top of this world and become an overlord. He had the unyielding golden skeleton and the demon eye of annihilation. Although these were all precious treasures left behind by the great demon god, only Yang Kai could utilize them to their fullest and use them to achieve his own goals. While on the road, Yang Kai didn't remain idle, instead comprehending the various mysteries he had obtained from the star field and comprehending the method Li Lao had taught him to use his conflagrated knowledge. This kind of change in self-confidence and mentality was like a catalyst, allowing Yang Kai to comprehend more and more about his own strength. His recent breakthrough to the transcendent realm quickly stabilized. In front of him was a dense forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and everything that entered his eyes was lush green. The air was fresh and the energy was quite extraordinary. In the dense forest, there were many traces of demon beasts and human activities. Yang Kai flew past, not paying them any mind. Half a month later he passed through this forest. The moment he crossed the towering mountain peak, Yang Kai felt a fresh and natural aura wash over him. This aura was mixed with a slight fishy smell. Yang Kai's expression shook as he couldn't help feeling a sense of familiarity. Back when he was still very weak, when he first left High Heaven Pavilion for life experience and arrived in Sea City, he had smelled this kind of aura. Because it was a sea breeze, the wind carried with it a salty smell of seawater. Looking around on the distant horizon, Yang Kai saw a blue sea with sparkling waves. The wind was blowing from that direction, but because it was blocked by the high mountains below, there was no such aura on the other side of the mountain. Seaside? Yang Kai raised his brow. He hadn't expected that the so-called Blue Water City would actually be located on the coast. He had left in such a hurry that he hadn't carefully inquired about this place before rushing over. Zhang Yin and Fei Yu hadn't warned him either, so when Yang Kai saw the blue sea now, he felt as if he had been transported to another world. It was as if he had suddenly returned to his own world and arrived near Sea City. The masters from the Endless Sea Islands and the young girl who raised peacocks, Zhong Miao Ku, flashed across Yang Kai's mind one by one. Chuckling lightly, Yang Kai shook his head and dispelled these memories before quickly flying forward. The further he flew, the richer the water attribute energy in the air became. This was definitely a good place for a water attribute cultivator to cultivate and take root. 3 days later, Yang Kai finally arrived at Blue Water City and paid a crystal stone to enter safely. Inside Blue Water City, there was a distinct smell everywhere. Most of the cultivators who came and went wore light blue robes. Because they cultivated water attribute secret arts and martial skills, they had a special liking for this color. Here Yang Kai's true Yang secret art was faintly suppressed, but it wasn't a big deal. A cultivator like him who cultivated Yang attribute secret arts or fire attribute secret arts would not be willing to live in this kind of place for long. If he stayed here for too long, not only would his secret arts and martial skills be suppressed, but his own strength would also regress. Although he already knew his chances were slim, shortly after setting foot in Blue Water City, Yang Kai still showed a look of disappointment. He didn't release his divine sense to investigate, but he was certain that Meng Wuya was no longer here. Because Treasurer Meng's defensive artifact, the Heavenly Palace, was still in Yang Kai's hands, Yang Kai had deliberately taken it out of the Black Book space when he arrived at Blue Water City. If Meng Wuya was really here, he would have sensed it. After all, this artifact contained his soul imprint. Since he hadn't appeared, it meant that Meng Wuya and Xianing Chang had long since left. After feeling depressed for a while, Yang Kai regrouped and began to inquire about Blue Water City. Although Meng Wuya had left, perhaps he had left behind some clues that he could track down. Now that Yang Kai had an alchemist identity and an alchemist token, if he wanted to inquire about information, it wouldn't be as difficult as before. Walking over to Blue Water City's Alchemist Guild, Yang Kai showed his alchemist token and asked the alchemist there. Yang Kai's alchemist token was the one he had obtained in Grand Boulder City and had never been replaced, so under the investigation of others, he was just a spirit-grade low-rank alchemist. Even so, this surprised the alchemists of Blue Water City. The head of the Alchemist Guild here, a spirit-grade top-rank alchemist who was over 100 years old, was even more surprised. Sighing with emotion, he warmly received Yang Kai. It had to be said that with an alchemist token, it was very convenient to go anywhere. Although the world was vast, almost every city had an alchemist guild, unless the city was too small. Of course, not every alchemist guild's head was a saint-grade alchemist like Old Man Du. The head of this alchemist guild was a spirit-grade top-rank alchemist. In some places, a spirit-grade mid-rank alchemist could lead an alchemist guild. Yang Kai came here to inquire because of his alchemist identity and also because Xianing Chang was also an alchemist, so he might have had some dealings with the alchemists here. After asking, everyone shook their heads. Only one person said that he seemed to have seen this old man and young duo before, but he had never interacted with them. 2 years had passed, so he didn't know where the two had gone. Yang Kai could only helplessly say his thanks and take his leave. The clues he had obtained from Li Lao were cut off just like that. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. Although this series of disappointments was quite a blow to Yang Kai, he was not discouraged. He firmly believed that one day he would be able to reunite with Su Yan and Xianing Chang, as well as Old Demon. That old bastard was nowhere to be found. Over the next few days, Yang Kai kept an eye out for information in Blue Water City while also trying to purchase a certain type of medicinal herb. This medicinal herb was necessary to refine the Saint Pill needed to save the ancient demon clan. It could only be found in the territory of the sea and was extremely rare and precious. Yang Kai felt that there might be some here. Time flew by, but Yang Kai still hadn't gained anything. Not only was he unable to obtain any information about Meng Wuya, but he also couldn't find the medicinal herb he was looking for. Everyone he asked shook their heads, claiming that this medicinal herb was almost extinct and they had never seen it before. One day, a month later, Yang Kai was inquiring about some news in a medicine shop when he suddenly sensed the auras of several people approaching him. Frowning, Yang Kai turned around and saw a group of cultivator led by a middle-aged man walking towards him. This group of people didn't have high cultivations, basically all of them at the immortal ascension boundary, but there were quite a few of them and their auras were fierce. Obviously they were all masters who lived on the edge of a blade. Arriving in front of Yang Kai, the middle-aged man looked him over. "What's the matter?" Yang Kai asked with some displeasure. Chapter 723. This group of people didn't look very friendly, so Yang Kai naturally wouldn't treat them with courtesy. He was currently in a bad mood, so if someone provoked him, it would be a good time to vent. I heard you were looking for the whereabouts of an old man and a little girl? The middle-aged man glanced at Yang Kai and asked coldly. You've seen them before? Yang Kai's eyes lit up. Is it a lecherous old man and a little girl with a veil? The man confirmed. It's them. Yang Kai was overjoyed, suddenly feeling that this group of people in front of him had become friendly. Then we've seen them before? The big man nodded slightly. Why are you looking for them? What's your relationship with them? You don't need to know that. Yang Kai shook his head. You just need to tell me if they left behind any clues. I'll give you a reward. Reward? The big man suddenly smiled slyly. What kind of reward? Crystal stones or spirit pills, as long as it's a valuable clue, I can give it to you. When the big man heard this, he couldn't help but reveal a trace of surprise. Looking at Yang Kai's clothes, he really didn't expect him to be so rich. Boy, you're quite arrogant. The big man nodded slightly, but although we've seen the old man and the young girl, we haven't talked to them, so we don't know the specific information. Then don't waste my time. Yang Kai's mood suddenly became a lot more subtle and his face became cold. The big man chuckled. We don't know, but that doesn't mean others don't know. If you really want to ask around, then come with us. Yang Kai's eyes flashed and he suddenly smiled. Good, take me to someone who knows the situation. The big man nodded. Taking the lead, Kai Yang hurriedly followed. The people brought by the big man also followed behind, sealing off Kai Yang's path of retreat without leaving a trace. This group of people was a bit unfriendly. Yang Kai could naturally sense it, but they had definitely seen Meng Wuya and Xianing Chang, otherwise they wouldn't have described them so clearly. What did old man Meng do to them? Why did this group of people seem to hate him so much? Even though he was aware of this, Yang Kai was still bold. He wasn't afraid at all. He followed along calmly while secretly observing the situation around him. He had been active in Blue Water City for a month now and naturally knew that there were no Saint Realm masters here, so he had nothing to fear. He followed the burly man for a long time. Suddenly they arrived in front of a huge mansion. After entering the house, the burly man led Yang Kai through the courtyard. Not long after they arrived at a garden. In the garden, there was a young man with a sinister expression sitting on a chair under the young man's knees. Two seductively dressed women were half kneeling on the ground, snuggling up to him like pets. The strength of these two women was not high. They were probably only at the Yuanqi state. At this moment, both of them had a collar around their fair necks, and on the other end of the collar, there was a strange expression. There was a rope in the young man's hand. One of the women had a round buttocks. She was half kneeling on the ground, putting on a seductive posture as if she was a puppy, shaking her head and begging the young man, trying her best to please him. The other woman buried her head in the young man's crotch, moving nimbly. Her mouth seemed to be stuffed with something and she was whimpering. These two women were wearing very little, with only thin gauze covering their bodies, faintly visible between their breasts and legs. When they arrived here, the burly man and the group of cultivators couldn't help breathing a little faster, licking their lips as their eyes filled with lust. As for the young man sitting on the chair, his expression was even more lustful. Yang Kai's expression sank. Although he had long heard that some young masters from rich families had some unusual hobbies, there were some in the central capital who liked these perverted things. However, this was the first time he had seen one with his own eyes. Young master, we've brought them, the burly man observed for a while before realizing something was wrong and quickly saying. The young man sitting on the chair simply nodded but didn't pay much attention to him, still wearing a bone-chilling expression. Suddenly, the young man's expression changed, becoming ferocious and terrifying as he grabbed the hair of the woman who had buried her head between his legs and slapped her several times, shouting angrily, "Cheap slave, how many times have I told you not to use your teeth?" These slaps were so heavy that the woman's cheeks swelled up in an instant, but even so, she didn't dare to complain in the slightest and quickly crawled to the young man's feet, her tender body trembling. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed, his aura gradually becoming dangerous. The young man straightened his clothes, glanced around calmly and coldly snorted, "Are you the one looking for that old man and little girl?" "Yes." Yang Kai nodded. "Do you have any clues about them?" "No, I'm also looking for them." The young man grinned. "If you have any information, can you tell me?" "You're also looking for them?" Yang Kai frowned. "Why are you looking for them?" "Be clear about your position, I should be the one asking this question." The young man's face suddenly became cloudy as he unhappily said, But since you asked, there's no harm in telling you. As he spoke, his expression suddenly became ferocious, his hands gripping the back of his chair as his yuan qi burst out. I'm looking for them because I want them dead. The reason this young master fell to this point is all because of that old man. Boy, you can tell me now, what is your relationship with them? You better think carefully before you answer. If you are their friend or relative, I will let you taste all the torture in the world and then torture you to death. That old man crippled you? Yang Kai was stunned hearing this. What kind of person was Meng Wuya? If there wasn't some special reason, it was impossible for him to be so ruthless to such a junior. The only explanation was that this young man had angered Meng Wuya. Yang Kai immediately thought of Xianing Chang. Treasurer Meng regarded the little senior sister as a treasure, so if this young man had ideas about the little senior sister, he might really have angered Meng Wuya. Moreover, from the way this young man acted, it was obvious that he was a playboy who was obsessed with women. Although little senior sister had never revealed her true appearance, anyone could see that she was definitely born with a heavenly fragrance and national beauty. Especially that kind of delicate and innocent temperament, it made people unconsciously infatuated with her. Thinking of this, Yang Kai's face also became unkind. My Cheng family treated that old man like a VIP, but he was so ruthless to my young master. This is simply unforgivable. The big man who led Yang Kai said coldly, Boy, what is your relationship with that old man? If you dare to lie, this grandpa will teach you a lesson. Why did he treat your young master like that? Can you tell me? Yang Kai turned his head to look at him, his eyes as sharp as a knife. The big man didn't seem to notice and snorted, It's just that my young master is infatuated with that girl. He put medicine in the food. Medicine? Yang Kai gently nodded. I can see that your young master is really capable of doing such a thing. Xianing Chang had the sacred spirit medicine body, so using medicine to deal with her was the biggest joke in the world. Although he knew that the little senior sister was safe and sound, Yang Kai's heart still burned with anger. That old man was already merciful when he crippled you. If it were me, I wouldn't have done such a thing. Yang Kai grinned fiendishly. Boy, what did you say? The big man's expression became cold as he sternly asked. The young man looked at Yang Kai with interest. If it were you, what would you do? Kill. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Suddenly they all burst out in laughter. Boy, you're really crazy, daring to say such words in my Qing family. I'm afraid you don't know how to write the word death? In this blue water city my Qing family is... The big man's face was full of ridicule. Before he could finish, his voice suddenly stopped. A faint smell of blood filled the air, causing the big man's eyes to widen and his face to turn red. He felt his meridians and blood continue to swell, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't suppress them. Kong, flesh and blood flew all over the sky. No one knew what happened, but the big man suddenly disappeared without a trace, leaving only a pool of red blood where he stood. Those who were close to him were covered with bits of flesh. This hellish scene stunned everyone and they stood there stupidly, unable to react. The young man sitting in the chair was even more stunned, unable to believe what just happened. I'll ask you one last time, do you know where that old man and that little girl went? If you know, hurry up and tell me and I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Yang Kai swept his gaze around, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Kill him. The young man's face paled as he finally recovered and shouted angrily. The remaining cultivator also seemed to have awoken from a dream and began to move. Wind blew and thunder rumbled. Yang Kai stood in place not moving, but the yuan qi in his body burst forth. The wind and thunder wings didn't appear, but the wind and thunder force contained within them converged into a territory of slaughter in the garden. The immortal ascension boundary cultivator who was caught in this whirlpool didn't even have the chance to resist and was cut into countless pieces, dying horrible deaths. The young man sitting in the chair was dumbfounded. He had never imagined that he would provoke such a demon this time. Because Yang Kai looked very young, he had sent someone to bring him back, but he didn't know that this young man's strength was not something he should possess at his age. Transcendent realm? Impossible. The young man's eyes bulged as panic filled his heart. Being able to kill so many immortal ascension boundary cultivators so easily without even moving, only a transcendent could do so, but was there such a young transcendent in this world? Looking at the cold expression on Yang Kai's face as he slowly approached him, the young man screamed, Don't come here. I don't know the whereabouts of those two, don't come here. Then you're dead. Yang Kai grinned, and after confirming that the other party wasn't lying, he smashed his fist into the young man's head. Inside the garden, the smell of blood filled the air, but Yang Kai's expression remained indifferent. This kind of battle, for him, could be said to be no battle at all. The other party daring to provoke him was simply courting death. The two scantily clad women weren't injured, but they seemed to have been frightened. At this moment they were staring blankly at Yang Kai, their tender bodies trembling, not daring to move. Yang Kai glanced at them, his eyes gradually softening. He didn't want to find trouble with these two women. Suddenly, Yang Kai's expression became cold as he turned his head and stared in a certain direction. Chapter 724. From that direction, a fierce aura rose up, obviously indicating that a master was flying over. The Cheng family was a powerful force in Blue Water City, so naturally it had a transcendent realm master. Feeling the fluctuations of the battle in the garden, they immediately rushed over to investigate. Before they even arrived, a loud shout rang out, "Who dares act so atrociously in my Cheng family?" Yang Kai raised his brow and stood in place, waiting quietly, not showing any intention of running away. The person who had just arrived was a first-order transcendent, the same cultivation as Yang Kai. Although there were two of them, Yang Kai didn't fear them at all. In a battle of the same realm, no one could beat him. A moment later, two old men arrived at the same time from the left and right. One of them was wearing a yellow robe, while the other was wearing a light blue robe. When they saw the tragic situation in the garden, their expressions turned cold. Yang Kai's brow furrowed because he discovered that both of these old men were missing limbs, one of them missing an arm while the other had a broken left leg. Yang Kai didn't know what kind of artifact had been used to replace their missing arms and legs, but they looked lifelike and gave off a cold metallic aura. "Little brat, did you kill these people?" The yellow-robed old man immediately shouted angrily, his eyes filled with anger. Yang Kai nodded lightly, not denying it. "Why did you kill my Cheng family people? What grievance does my Cheng family have with you?" The blue-robed old man roared angrily. "No grievance, no enmity. Then why did you act so viciously? Do you think my Cheng family is easy to bully?" As they spoke, the two old men condensed their yuan qi, apparently preparing to take action to avenge the dead. Yang Kai's calmness made them realize that he obviously had some skill, and when they tried to probe him with their divine senses, they found that he was like a bottomless pit, unable to detect any clues at all. This made them somewhat wary, wondering just where this little brat came from, possessing such unfathomable strength at such a young age. "If you don't give us an explanation today, my Cheng clan will never coexist with you." The yellow-robed old man's face turned red as he clenched his teeth and roared. "Sworn to be enemies?" Yang Kai sneered in a low voice. "Very well, let's fight first. I still have some things to ask you." The dead youth didn't know where Meng Wuya and Xianing Chang went, but these two old men might know. While speaking, a scorching hot divine sense suddenly burst out, rolling up the intent domain that could burn everything, and without a trace, it bombarded the two old men. The other party was not young and had been cultivating for a long time, so the defenses of their knowledge seas were naturally not so fragile. What's more, they were all wearing defensive soul-type artifacts. But it wasn't until the soul-type artifacts on their bodies began to glow that they finally reacted. Feeling the scorching hot aura, all of them paled in fear. With Li Lao's guidance, Yang Kai also had a certain understanding of how to use the conflagrated knowledge sea. The conflagrated knowledge sea was not only extremely useful in alchemy, but also in battle. This was Yang Kai's first battle after breaking through to the transcendent realm, and his opponents were two cultivators of the same realm. Naturally, he wanted to test his current combat strength. So he didn't show any mercy. But what he didn't expect was that the two old men would be so weak, their knowledge sea defenses easily torn apart. If it weren't for their two defensive artifacts, Yang Kai would have been able to incinerate their souls with just this one blow. Even so, the two old men still broke out in a cold sweat and quickly used their own methods to protect their bodies. Yang Kai retracted his conflagrated knowledge sea and his figure flashed like lightning, arriving in front of the two old men. With two palm strikes, the two old men's bodies were sent flying like paper kites, coughing up blood as they flew through the air. Falling to the ground before they could even get up, Yang Kai's figure had already appeared in front of them. Like an insurmountable mountain, his figure blocked the sun above their heads, causing their vision to darken. Unable to resist, the two old men couldn't accept such a result at all. Yang Kai was also somewhat dissatisfied, feeling that he had made a mistake by trying out a cultivator of the same level. A dangerous aura enveloped the two old men, making them unable to move at all, only able to lie on the ground, a chill creeping into their hearts, as if they had fallen into an abyss, unable to even see their own fingers in front of them. Who the hell are you? The yellow-robed old man was still stubborn, suppressing the fear in his heart as he tried to inquire about Yang Kai's origins. Yang Kai shook his head. You don't need to know who I am, I just want to ask you a few questions. If I'm satisfied with your answers, I'll let you go, if not, heh, your Qing family will be destroyed here today. These cold and ruthless words made them tremble in fear, quickly nodding their heads. From the means Yang Kai used to deal with them, he really did have the ability to destroy the Qing family. 2 years ago, did your Qing family receive an old man and a veiled woman? Yang Kai looked straight into their eyes, asking in a low voice. As soon as these words came out, the two old men's faces suddenly paled, as if they had recalled something terrifying, their eyes overflowing with panic. The yellow-robed old man said, So you were with them. Little brother, the Qing family's unfilial son made a mistake, he also paid the price, even the two of us were punished. Now that it's been 2 years, why do you still want to exterminate them? The blue-robed old man also quickly nodded. Our Qing family has already been taught a lesson, this matter should be over, right? Yang Kai's brows wrinkled, he found that the other party seemed to have misunderstood him. His eyes flashed saying, Your hands and legs were chopped off by that old man? The two old men nodded, their faces filled with lingering fear, somewhat unwilling to recall what happened 2 years ago. Yang Kai grinned, the dissatisfaction in his heart towards Treasurer Meng disappearing greatly. Someone daring to drug Xia Ning Chang with Meng Wuya's personality, he wouldn't have simply broken the young man's legs. It turned out that the two transcendents of the Qing family had also been punished. The yellow-robed old man spoke. That senior seems to have some friendship with one of my Qing family's ancestors. When he came to Blue Water City, he immediately entered my Qing family. During the few days he was a guest, my Qing family treated him with courtesy, but, my Qing family's unfilial son actually had designs on his disciple, spiking her food with drugs. In a fit of anger, that senior made a move. At that time, if it weren't for an elder from Water Spirit Temple intervening, my Qing family would have been exterminated long ago. Even so, we still paid a heavy price. In the end, that senior spared our lives out of consideration for his friendship with my Qing family's ancestor. Water Spirit Temple? Yang Kai's eyes lit up. You mean Water Spirit Temple? What's wrong? The yellow-robed old man looked confused, not understanding why Yang Kai suddenly looked so excited. Did that old man and the veiled woman go to Water Spirit Temple? Yang Kai asked eagerly. It should be because it was that elder from the Water God Temple who led them to Blue Water City. Moreover, this city is the territory of the Water God Temple. My Qing family can be considered a vassal force of the Water God Temple, said Qing Yi. Yang Kai patted his head and stood in place in a daze, his expression constantly changing. Observing the changes in his expression, the two old men couldn't help trembling in fear. After a long time, Yang Kai suddenly laughed. So that's how it is. At this moment he suddenly saw the light. This was truly a case of, when the cart reaches the mountain, there is a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. Little brother, you? The yellow-robed old man asked with trepidation, fearing that Yang Kai would really destroy his Qing family in a fit of anger. It's none of your business. Since that old fogey didn't destroy your family, your ancestor's relationship with him must be quite deep, so it's not appropriate for me to overstep my authority, but I killed so many of your subordinates and one of them looked like a young master. What do you say about this? That unfilial son deserves to die. The yellow-robed old man suddenly snorted coldly. If it weren't for his blind dog eyes, how could the two of us have fallen into such a situation? As he spoke, his face filled with anger. Obviously he was quite angry. Good. Yang Kai nodded lightly, putting away the idea of cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots, lightly asking, Which direction is Water Spirit Temple? Pointed to me. Over there, in the Endless Sea territory, the islands are the foundation of Water Spirit Temple. The yellow-robed old man quickly pointed in a certain direction to Yang Kai. As soon as these words left his mouth, Yang Kai shot out like a bolt of lightning. After waiting for a long time and confirming that Yang Kai had gone far, the two old men glanced at each other and slowly got up, their faces alternating between red and blue. Being so easily defeated by a little brat was simply too shameful. Fortunately, no one had seen this scene, otherwise they would likely have killed him to silence him. What a sin. After leaving Water Blue City, Yang Kai hurriedly flew forward, not caring about Yuan Qi's consumption of energy. Water Spirit Temple was the force Shui Ling belonged to. It had been almost 3 years since Yang Kai and Shui Ling had arrived in Tongshan realm through the Void Corridor in the Abandoned Earth. When they parted ways in bold independent city, Shui Ling had invited him to visit Water Spirit Temple, but Yang Kai had refused. If only he hadn't refused at that time, Yang Kai couldn't help feeling some regret. Yang Kai was sure that Meng Wuya and Xiaoning Chang had gone to Water Spirit Temple to find Shui Ling. Perhaps Treasurer Meng had left behind some kind of message for Shui Ling to pass on to him. After all, when they were in the central capital, Meng Wuya had learned about Shui Ling's origins and had also guessed that Yang Kai might have come here but couldn't find him, so he could only go to Water Spirit Temple. This was Yang Kai's speculation, but it was likely to be the truth. The words of the two old men from the Cheng family also confirmed this to Yang Kai. At that time, an elder from Water Spirit Temple had led Meng Wuya to Water Blue City, which meant that he had already been to Water Spirit Temple and seen Shui Ling before that. Seeing Shui Ling meant that he indeed knew he had arrived in Tongshan realm. Burning with anxiety, Yang Kai shot across the sea like a bolt of lightning, creating a strong wind that seemed to split the sea in half. After a day and a night, some vague traces of islands appeared in the distance. These islands were scattered, and as far as the eye could see, they were like chess pieces, scattered irregularly on the chessboard of the sea. These islands were both large and small, the small ones only a dozen kilometers in diameter while the large ones occupied an area of hundreds or even thousands of kilometers. Yang Kai's spirit shook as he realized that this was definitely the place where Water Spirit Temple was located. Close to the islands, large and small ships were sailing in and out, transporting supplies to Water Spirit Temple, a magnificent scene that clearly demonstrated the extraordinariness of Water Spirit Temple. Immediately, Yang Kai felt a surge of electricity fall from the sky and hit him directly on the top of his head. The force was so great that Yang Kai almost fell into the sea. His whole body felt as if it had been electrocuted, his hair stood on end and his hair stood on end. Kai Yang couldn't help but shiver as an unparalleled sense of comfort filled his heart. The wind and thunder wings seemed to have absorbed a lot of lightning energy and stored it in his right shoulder blade. The crowd below let out a cry of alarm but soon stopped, each of them showing a look of disbelief as they stared at Yang Kai in a daze. Being struck by a bolt of lightning as thick as an arm, besides his hair standing on end, this little brat was completely unscathed. This was something they couldn't accept. Dark Clouds Island was special not only because it was covered in dark clouds all year round, but also because these dark clouds contained a huge amount of lightning attribute energy. Normally, these dark clouds wouldn't release any lightning, only when living creatures approached them would they be stimulated. Therefore, Dark Clouds Island, which was located at the outermost edge of Water Spirit Temple, was not only a place for material exchange but also a natural defensive barrier. If someone who didn't know the inside story rashly flew over, they would only suffer a baptism of lightning. This kind of heavenly pressure was something even Water Spirit Temple's elders couldn't bear. Every half a year, the elders of the Water God Temple would use some special methods to release the accumulated lightning energy in the dark clouds. Otherwise, if too much lightning energy was accumulated, it might erupt one day and destroy the entire island. Ipu remembered that the last time the elders had released this lightning attribute energy was a few months ago. After such a long period of accumulation, the lightning attribute energy in the dark clouds should have reached a level that even Transcendence would have to retreat, so why was this little brat completely unscathed? While he was in a daze, the dark clouds continued to release lightning bolts one after another, like snakes emerging from their lair, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. No matter which direction they fell from, they would always accurately strike Yang Kai. The cracking sounds were incessant, and the light was as bright as day, so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. Hipu narrowed his eyes trying to see what was going on, but he couldn't see anything. This scene continued for who knows how long until the lightning bolts emerging from the dark clouds became sparse and their power greatly reduced. Only then was everyone able to clearly see the situation in the sky again. Exclamations rang out again as everyone found that the guy who had intruded into Dark Clouds Island was actually still standing firmly in midair, not only unharmed, but also with a strange expression on his face. Steward, was that person struck dumb? Cuttlefish came over and asked in a low voice. Hipu was at a loss, he didn't know how to interpret the scene in front of him. If the other party was not struck dumb, then his strength was so profound that he could ignore the lightning attribute energy. But how was that possible? The elders had said that even a third-order transcendent wouldn't be able to escape from such heavenly might, so how could this little brat be so young, only about 23 or 24 years old. While everyone was in a daze, the young man in the sky actually slowly shook his head, revealing a look of disappointment before straightening his clothes and flying down towards Dark Clouds Island. Everyone's expression changed greatly as they all raised their guard towards Yuan Qi, secretly raising their guard. Perceiving their vigilance, Yang Kai grinned, revealing his white teeth and a harmless smile as he steadily landed on the island. "Who are you?" He Pu asked coldly as he swept his eyes over Yang Kai, quickly discovering that this person really was unfamiliar. He had never seen him before. Everyone who entered Water Spirit Temple would first arrive at Dark Clouds Island, so if this person really was an acquaintance, He Pu would definitely have an impression of him. "Excuse me, is this Water Spirit Temple?" Yang Kai didn't answer, instead glancing around and quickly discovering that there wasn't a single Transcendent Realm Master on this island, most of them just immortal Ascension boundary cultivators. "And?" He Pu nodded. "This is Water Spirit Temple's Dark Clouds Island. Who is your excellency? What business do you have with my Water Spirit Temple?" Yang Kai's outrageous performance just now made He Pu feel that this young man wasn't someone to be trifled with, so he didn't dare act presumptuously, but since it was his duty, he naturally had to inquire about the other party's identity and purpose. "Don't misunderstand, I have no malicious intent," Yang Kai smiled lightly. "I'm here to find someone." "Find someone?" He Pu frowned. "Who are you looking for?" "And a girl named Shui Ling. If I remember correctly, she should be the daughter of your Water Spirit Temple's temple master." "Looking for Shui? You're looking for the little princess?" He Pu's eyes bulged as a strange expression appeared on his face, grinning meaningfully. Everyone else also directed an ambiguous look towards Yang Kai. "Yes, I'm looking for your little princess." Yang Kai nodded. "If it's convenient, can you tell me where she is? And it would be best if you could take me to see her." "Little brat." He Pu smiled, a playful expression appearing on his face. "Although I don't know which great force you belong to, I can see that you have some ability, so I won't embarrass you. Go back to where you came from. The little princess isn't someone a person like you can approach." Saying so, He Pu waved his hand dismissively, a look of disdain appearing on his face towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai frowned, thinking for a moment before asking, "Are you misunderstanding something?" He Pu curled his lips. "That's what everyone who comes here says. Don't you want to pursue my family's little princess? I won't waste time with you. My little princess is a beautiful woman. It's normal for young people like you to think about her. This brother is also a man of experience." Saying so, a look of regret appeared on his face. "However, although I understand your intentions, I won't make an exception. If you don't leave now, don't blame us for being impolite." Yang Kai let out a light sigh as he smiled wryly, feeling that this group of people really misunderstood him. Although Shui Ling really wasn't bad-looking and she was also quite charming from beginning to end, Yang Kai didn't have many thoughts about her. When they were in the central capital, the two of them had gone from being enemies to friends, and after returning to Tongshen Realm with her, their friendship had improved greatly. Yang Kai felt that Shui Ling didn't have any romantic feelings for him. Thinking about it for a moment, Yang Kai took out something from the black book space and handed it over. "Take a look at this." He Pu glanced at him for a moment before taking it, but after looking at it carefully, he couldn't help exclaiming, "The little princess token? Where did you get it?" "Nonsense, of course it was given to me by your little princess," Yang Kai snorted. "Given to you?" He Pu widened his eyes and slapped his head as if he had remembered something. "Oh right, so you're the person the little princess mentioned. This is really rude. Brother, please don't blame me. Brother, please don't blame me. If you had taken out this token earlier, I wouldn't have made things so difficult for you." "It's fine." Yang Kai shook his head and asked curiously, "What did your little princess say to you?" 3 years ago, when the little princess returned, she told me that if a young lord came here with her token, I was to treat him with courtesy." Chapter 726. 3 years ago, he and Shui Ling had parted ways in bold independent city. After learning that Yang Kai was the young lord his little princess had spoken to him about, He Pu's previous indifferent attitude immediately became enthusiastic. This person was also a lively person, and his mouth was quite eloquent, constantly praising Yang Kai for being young and handsome, his strength tyrannical, and so on. Yang Kai let him talk for a while before interrupting his chatter. "I want to see your little princess. Can you take me to where she is now?" He Pu suddenly looked a little embarrassed. If it were any other time with the little princess's instructions, brother would have taken out this token and this He Pu would have led you there, but now, the little princess doesn't seem to be on her island. How about this? I'll have my brothers inquire about where the little princess is, then I'll take you there. Good. Yang Kai nodded. He had already come to Water Spirit Temple, so as long as he could see Shui Ling, he would know what message Meng Wuya had sent her. As for Su Yen and the old demon's situation, he wasn't in a hurry. Then I'll have to trouble you. No need, no need. Brother, please sit down, I'll be right back. Hipu said respectfully before withdrawing, ordering some people to serve him wine and fruit platters before leading a group of people away from Dark Cloud's Island. Dark Cloud's Island was the outermost natural barrier of Water Spirit Temple, and it was also a place where goods and materials flowed. With so many people coming and going, it was extremely lively. Yang Kai waited here for half a day before Hipu hurriedly returned, a big smile on his face as he said, "Brother, I didn't disappoint and found the little princess. The little princess seems to want to see you very much, so she asked me to take you there quickly. Do you want to leave now?" And Yang Kai stood up and walked out with Hipu. Normally, when Water Spirit Temple's people entered and left Dark Cloud's Island, they had to take a boat because once they left the ground, the lightning accumulated in the clouds above the island would strike them down. But today Yang Kai had just finished absorbing the lightning, so Hipu boldly led Yang Kai away. Along the way Hipu introduced Water Spirit Temple to Yang Kai. Within a radius of 1,000 kilometers, there were thousands of large and small islands, all of which were properties of Water Spirit Temple. These islands were rich in world energy and rich in spirit grasses and medicinal herbs. The environment for cultivation was quite good. Because these islands were so widely distributed, it was usually quite troublesome to find a single person. As the little princess of Water Spirit Temple, Shui Ling naturally had her own island, and that island was one of the best among all the islands of Water Spirit Temple, but today she wasn't on her own island but had instead gone to a place called Wind Cloud Island. Water Spirit Temple's foundation was on the sea, far away from the chaos of the mortal world and the hustle and bustle of the city. The environment was elegant, but there was only one place that made Water Spirit Temple's people angry. From time to time, sea beasts would come to these islands to wreak havoc. The monster beast of the sea was very different from the monster beast on land. Sea beasts generally had large bodies and were proficient in water attribute mysteries, making them very troublesome to deal with. If it was some weak monster beast, it would be easy to deal with, but once it encountered a powerful monster beast, even a cultivator of Water Spirit Temple would have to spend a lot of effort to expel or kill it. At this moment, on Wind Cloud Island, Shui Ling was commanding a group of cultivators to fight a sea beast the size of several houses. The reefs around Wind Cloud Island were smashed to pieces and the waves were tumbling, creating an extremely dangerous scene. The sea beast had 8 long fleshy legs and it moved back and forth nimbly. Its ferocious mouth was constantly shooting out water arrows with imposing auras that carried extraordinary lethality. Although Shui Ling had gathered a lot of masters under her command, the vitality of this sea beast was extremely tenacious, and if she couldn't kill it in a single blow, it would be impossible to drive it away. When she heard Hipu's report just now, Shui Ling almost couldn't believe it. Her mind was in chaos and she had no idea how to give orders, causing the actions of her subordinates to become chaotic, almost resulting in a loss of life. Lujua, you take command. Shui Ling's mind was in a mess, the monster beast no longer in her eyes, replaced by a look of pleasant surprise and expectation. Standing in place, she stood on her tiptoes, constantly looking towards the distant sky, as if she was waiting for something. The cultivator named Lujua heard this and nodded heavily, taking over command and issuing various orders in an orderly manner. The chaotic scene soon settled down. Quietly turning his head, Lujua found that the little princess' mood seemed to be fluctuating, seemingly very happy, so he couldn't help asking, "Young lady, what kind of person is the person Hipu spoke of? Why does young lady care so much about him?" "A friend." The image of Yang Kai appeared in Shui Ling's mind, and remembering all the rude things he had done to her in the central capital, she suddenly grit her teeth and replied, "A very hateful friend." Lujua was stunned. If this person was a friend, why was he so hateful? Shaking his head, he didn't know what the little princess was thinking. However, as the little princess's retainer, it wasn't appropriate for him to inquire about the other party's private affairs, so he couldn't help feeling curious about this person. He had been with the little princess for several years now, but he had never seen her show such a varied expression like today. About half an hour later, 2 small black dots appeared in the sky, causing Shui Ling's expression to shake. Quickly looking over, she saw Hipu leading a group of people towards her. Approaching closer, Shui Ling was finally able to see the appearance of this person. Her heart trembled and her eyes quickly became misty. Just like a few years ago, he hadn't changed much, but he seemed to have matured a bit and his body was a lot sturdier. While still in midair, Yang Kai discovered Shui Ling and suddenly increased his speed, leaving He Pu behind, and in the blink of an eye he appeared in front of Shui Ling. "Beauty, long time no see." Yang Kai greeted her with a smile, his expression friendly. Shui Ling could be said to be one of his few friends. "You bastard." Shui Ling bit her lip as if she wanted to swallow Yang Kai whole, suddenly rushing up and kicking Yang Kai. He Pu, who was following behind, and Lu Zhua, who was directing the battle, were both stunned. Neither of them had ever seen their little princess flirt with a young man like this before, so they were both dumbfounded. "What?" Yang Kai didn't dodge, letting Shui Ling hit him a few times before asking in surprise. "Didn't you die? How did you come back to life?" "Who said I died?" Yang Kai shouted angrily. "That beauty from Bold Independent Union said so." Shui Ling angrily snorted. "When I went to Bold Independent Union to find her last time, she told me you were taken away by someone and then disappeared without a trace, most likely dead. There were too many people here, so Shui Ling didn't directly mention the name coffin-carrying man, obviously afraid of bringing trouble to Yang Kai." "Oh, that's true," Yang Kai nodded, not denying it. "Then how did you escape?" Shui Ling was shocked. "My luck was good, he let me go," Yang Kai casually replied. "Really, good people don't live long, scourges live for 1,000 years. Shui Ling curled her lips disdainfully. "When that beauty told me about it, she was crying so hard that she didn't want to die. Is there something fishy going on between the two of you? Otherwise, why would she be so sad when you died? When I left, your relationship wasn't so good. Tell me what happened between the two of you. Did you do something to her?" Seeing Yang Kai come back from the dead, Shui Ling seemed particularly happy and didn't stop talking, asking him a lot of irrelevant questions. "A little girl, why ask so many questions?" Yang Kai glared at her. "I knew it," Shui Ling said with a disdainful expression. "You pervert, wherever you go you pick up flowers and grass. I shouldn't have let that woman get close to you, I really did harm to her." "It was an accident, a pure accident," Yang Kai said awkwardly. At that time, he had been poisoned by the charm monster's divine sense and couldn't help himself. "Humph, who would believe you?" Shui Ling snorted, suddenly straightening her expression and saying, "In any case, many people will be happy that you're still alive." "You're also happy?" Yang Kai raised his brow, a perverted expression appearing on his face. "I can't wait for you to die." Shui Ling curled her lips, her face blushing red. When He Pu and Lu Zhua saw this scene, they were even more surprised. It seemed that the relationship between the little princess and this young man was not shallow. What was this guy's background? He actually made the little princess forget her usual etiquette. It was really unbelievable. "It's quite lively here." Yang Kai glanced around and found that in the coastal territory near the island, a group of cultivators were fighting a huge monster beast. The strength of these cultivators wasn't low, with one of them being a transcendent while the rest were all immortal ascension boundary masters. However, this monster beast seemed to be a 7th-order one, its 8 long meaty legs moving about wildly in the sea, its lethality tyrannical as it slapped the water into the sky. The cultivators inflicted large and small wounds on its body, but were unable to destroy it completely. Pale blue blood flowed out from these wounds as its flesh wriggled, and after a short time, it was completely healed. Yang Kai only observed for a moment and understood that with the strength of these people, it was impossible for them to kill this monster beast. Its vitality was simply too tenacious. And this beast seems to have set its eyes on a kind of spirit grass on Wind Cloud Island and has eaten a lot of it. Shui Ling was also a little annoyed as she stared hatefully at the monster beast. "Young lady, I'm afraid we'll have to find more people to help." Lu Zhua also saw that the situation was not good and quickly said. Shui Ling nodded heavily. "Why don't you go up?" Yang Kai glanced over at Lu Zhua in amazement. This person was a first-order transcendent. If he cooperated with the others, although it would take some effort, they should still be able to kill this sea beast, but instead of helping he chose to remain here and take command, not showing any intention of helping. Lu Zhua glanced over at Yang Kai and coldly snorted, "If I go up, who will protect young lady's safety?" Yang Kai was surprised and didn't say anything more. Shui Ling seemed to still be a peak immortal ascension boundary cultivator, unable to break through to the transcendent realm. When she separated from Yang Kai, her cultivation was at this level, but now 3 years had passed and she still hadn't broken through to the transcendent realm, showing just how difficult it was to break through. Chapter 727. Shui Ling's identity was very noble, so it was natural for Lu Zhuo to have such concerns. Yang Kai wasn't in a position to comment on this matter. This was someone else's territory. If he were to speak out of turn, it would only be annoying. Shui Ling spat out her tongue at Yang Kai before turning to Lu Zhuo and saying, "You go, the sooner you can deal with that guy the better." "But young lady..." Lu Zhuo frowned, obviously not willing. His duty was to protect Shui Ling, everything else was secondary. "If I tell you to go, then just go. What are you nagging about? I'm in a hurry to talk to that bastard." Shui Ling glared at him before softly comforting him. "Don't worry, I'll hide here, and with this bastard here, even if that monster beast rushes over, I'm afraid it won't be able to do anything to me, right?" Her last sentence was directed to Yang Kai. Yang Kai just chuckled and didn't answer directly. A seventh-order monster beast. Although it was huge and its strength wasn't weak, Yang Kai was confident he could kill it. However, he didn't want to incur the wrath of others, so he didn't want to attract too much hatred. "Go, what are you still standing here for?" Shui Ling saw Lu Zhuo not moving and couldn't help urging him. Lu Zhuo shot a cold glare towards Yang Kai and bitterly said, "Little brat, look after the young lady carefully, don't let anything happen to her." "Don't worry," Yang Kai nodded. Lu Zhuo then activated his movement skill and flew towards the sea. With his participation, the situation of the battle really changed. With the two Transcendents joining forces and the other Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters assisting them, they quickly seized the initiative, causing the sea beast to wail in pain as all 8 of its legs were damaged. Yang Kai stood in place for a while, and after determining that there was no problem, he smiled faintly. Then he smiled and said, "These people seem to be very loyal to you." "They're all my people. Of course they're loyal to me," Shui Ling said proudly. "Do you think this young lady is still the same as when I was in the central capital? I'm warning you, if you dare bully me again, I'll have them cut you into pieces." "I haven't bullied you, right?" Yang Kai was stunned. Shui Ling snorted, "Whether you've bullied me or not, you know in your heart. After not seeing you for a few years, it seems you've grown quite a bit. What's your current cultivation?" Yang Kai wrinkled his nose. "Why do you want to know this?" It wasn't that he wanted to hide anything from Shui Ling's heart. When they first met, Shui Ling was an Immortal Ascension Boundary 8-stage master while Yang Kai was just a peak True Element Boundary cultivator. After a few years, Yang Kai's cultivation had completely surpassed Shui Ling's. Was simply too fast. Of you is something I'm right. Use a person's no matter where you is ssda to be I. A you to say to be a t testis a one to be expected. S. TTTT. After leaving the Water God Temple. You can't do anything. You're a girl, why do you need such a high cultivation? I won't talk to you about that. How about it? After seeing the riches of my Water Spirit Temple, do you want to join us? My offer is still the same. As long as you join, I can provide you with the best cultivation environment. Right, I have a lot of islands under my control. As long as you take a fancy to them, you can pick one, and from now on, that island will be yours. 3 years ago, Shui Ling had tried to win over Yang Kai, and now that they had met, she still had the same idea. Because there had never been a person who could make Shui Ling's eyes light up. Only Yang Kai had done it. Although this person was hateful, his ability and aptitude were unquestionable. If I join here, it'll be the same as ruining myself. Yang Kai smiled and declined Shui Ling's offer. The water attribute energy here is so rich, how do you want me to cultivate? Of course my Water Spirit Temple has a suitable place for you to cultivate. There are several volcanic islands nearby, the climate is quite hot. No, I already have a place to settle down. What place? Shui Ling suddenly became interested. It actually caught your eye. Yang Kai briefly explained what had happened in Soaring Heaven Sect to Shui Ling. Hearing that the ancestral founder was the one who had founded High Heaven Pavilion, Shui Ling suddenly felt relieved. High Heaven Pavilion was Yang Kai's sect, so it was reasonable for him to choose Soaring Heaven Sect. On top of that, Soaring Heaven Sect was one of the great forces in Tongshan Realm. Even Shui Ling had occasionally heard of it. While they were talking, the battle over there was already over. After Lu Zhuo joined the battle, the sea beast was no match for him and managed to escape with heavy injuries. Although it was a pity that they weren't able to kill it, it was still good news that they hadn't suffered any losses. Shui Ling ordered her subordinates to deal with the situation on their own before leading Yang Kai off in a certain direction. Water Spirit Island was one of the larger islands in the sea region, and it had dense spirit chi. It was one of the islands under the Water Spirit's name, and the name of the island came from the Water Spirit. Usually Shui Ling lived and cultivated on this island. Most of the residents on this island were disciples of Water Spirit Temple as well as the families of those disciples. On the island, a number of houses were arranged in picturesque disorder with crowds of people coming and going, making it quite lively. At the highest point of the island, there was a row of palace-like buildings, Shui Ling's palace. Leading Yang Kai to this place, a young and beautiful maidservant immediately greeted him, offering him fine wine and delicacies as well as various exotic delicacies, all of them enthusiastically entertaining Yang Kai. Yang Kai had something on his mind, so even though he ate and drank, he didn't feel like eating or drinking. Shui Ling seemed to have noticed this as well, so after dismissing the servants she said, "I know why you're here, and I can tell you that I have the information you want." Yang Kai's breathing quickened slightly as he stared at Shui Ling. "Meng Wuya really came here and left you a message. And 2 years ago he suddenly came to Water Spirit Temple with your little senior sister who was proficient in alchemy. After leaving behind a few words, he hurriedly left and told me to pass on his message to you when I saw you. I originally wanted to go to Bold Independent Union to look for you, but when I arrived I heard from Yun Xian that you were probably already dead." Shui Ling sighed faintly. "Fortunately you're safe. The heavens help the worthy. What did Treasurer Meng want you to pass on to me?" Yang Kai asked eagerly. He said, "After that old demon arrived here, he separated from them and said he wanted to go to the demon land to develop his forces there while waiting for young master's arrival." Shui Ling smiled. "That old bastard." Yang Kai also shook his head and smiled bitterly, but the old demon's ambitions really did have a chance of being realized. He was different from ordinary people. Possessing the body of a demon general was his greatest asset. If he used it well, he would definitely be able to progress smoothly in the demon race. "What about Su Yan? Where is Su Yan?" Shui Ling glanced over at him and said, "Can I not tell you where she is? But I can tell you that she's fine. Senior Meng and your little senior sister seem to have an important matter to attend to, so Senior Meng entrusted Su Yan to an old friend of his, allowing her to temporarily cultivate there. The location of that force is very suitable for Su Yan. Not only is she not in any danger, but she will also be able to benefit immensely." "Then why don't you tell her where she is?" Yang Kai was stunned. "Because if I told you, you would definitely go find her. That force is not a place anyone can casually join. The people there are somewhat unreasonable and their influence is much larger than my water spirit temples. There are countless masters in that sect, and with your temper, if you don't see Su Yan, who knows what kind of trouble you'll cause. At that time, I'm afraid you won't be able to return." "Really? I'm just going to see my senior sister. Why would they make things difficult for me?" "I already said that the people there are somewhat unreasonable and can't be measured by common sense." Yang Kai's brow furrowed as he pondered, whispering softly, "Treasurer Meng entrusted Su Yan to that force before coming to Water Spirit Temple to leave a message for you, so that force is very likely to be near your Water Spirit Temple. As for my senior sister Su Yan, she cultivates the Ice Heart secret art, so the only suitable environment for her would be an extremely cold zone. There is a sect in the extremely cold zone near your Water Spirit Temple that is even stronger than your Water Spirit Temple." Enough. Shui Ling was speechless. With just a few words, Yang Kai had almost deduced Su Yan's location, so she knew that even if she tried to hide it, it would be useless, so she could only glare at him hatefully. "You're so smart. Then just tell me so that I won't have to think about it for a long time and still have to find someone to ask around." Yang Kai grinned meaningfully. He didn't know much about this world's great forces, otherwise he would have already guessed. "I sect," Shui Ling said helplessly. "Have you heard of it?" Yang Kai shook his head. "About a few thousand kilometers to the west of my Water Spirit Temple, there is a world of glaciers. Ice sect is located in that world of ice. They have very little contact with outsiders and almost live an isolated life. That's why I said they were unapproachable. The closest place to them is my Water Spirit Temple, and because of this I have some understanding of them. Occasionally my Water Spirit Temple will have some business dealings with them, but every one of them, whether male or female, old or young, is as cold as ice. Your Ice Doll senior sister really found a suitable place to enter." "Why would Treasurer Meng take senior sister to such a place?" Yang Kai frowned. It seems that because Senior Meng has some friendship with Ice Sect Master, he felt relieved to entrust Su Yan to her. After Shui Ling finished speaking, she turned to Yang Kai and asked, "You're going to Ice Sect, right?" Yang Kai nodded. He had been searching here for several years now, and now that he finally had some definite news, of course he wanted to see how Su Yan was doing. If Ice Sect was really suitable for her, It wouldn't hurt to let her stay there and cultivate, but if she wanted to go with him, Yang Kai would take her to Soaring Heaven Sect. Chu Ling Xiao was High Heaven Pavilion's ancestral founder, so naturally he was Su Yan's ancestral founder. When are you leaving? We're leaving now. Do you know where it is? Shui Ling rolled her eyes. Wait a few days, I'll find you someone familiar with the route so you don't have to waste time blindly looking for it. Yang Kai nodded, not refusing Shui Ling's kindness. Having someone to lead the way was naturally better than wandering around by himself. Chapter 728. Above the endless sea, a huge iron ship sailed through the wind and waves at an extremely fast speed towards the west. This ship was full of cultivation materials and the crew were all Water Spirit Temple disciples. Yang Kai stood at the bow of the ship, gazing towards the west, his thoughts wandering. Ever since he had dual cultivated with Su Yan, the two of them had never been separated for such a long time. The deep yearning in his heart was like an aged wine, the more it was stored, the more fragrant it would become. After staying on Water Spirit Island for about half a month, Yang Kai decided to take advantage of the trade between Water Spirit Temple and Ice Sect to come to this island. During this half-month, Shui Ling had taken good care of Yang Kai, enjoying all kinds of conveniences while constantly persuading Yang Kai to join Water Spirit Temple. Unfortunately, even until the end, Yang Kai refused to budge. When he left, Shui Ling was still sulking and didn't even appear to say goodbye to Yang Kai. Taking advantage of this half-month, Yang Kai also used Shui Ling to find the herbs needed to refine the Saint Pill. There was no such herb in Water Blue City, but for Water Spirit Temple, it wasn't too difficult to find it. Although the speed of the ship's navigation wasn't as fast as Yang Kai's flight, it was definitely not slow. Moreover, this iron ship seemed to have been refined using some kind of secret technique as there were traces of artifacts on it, so even if it was attacked by a monster beast in the middle of the sea, it wouldn't be destroyed so easily. The ship was also equipped with several Transcendent Realm Masters to guard it in case of any accidents. Hipu of Dark Clouds Island had also come this time and was mainly responsible for the trade with Ice Sect. Although Ice Sect was powerful, had many masters and was known for its ruthlessness because of this, it was very honest when it came to trading. Water Spirit Temple and Ice Sect had been cooperating for more than a year and both sides trusted each other. When the time came, as long as they brought the goods, they could exchange them for a large number of ice attribute spirit grasses and spirit medicines. On top of that, Ice Sect was rich in ice attribute ores, which were also good things Water Spirit Temple needed. Young Master Yang. Hipu appeared beside Yang Kai with a flattering smile on his face. In another half a month, we should be able to reach that glacier. After that, we'll have to disembark and fly over. The person you're looking for is in that world of ice. Ice Sect, what kind of sect is it? Yang Kai turned to look at him. I'm not too sure either. Hipu smiled awkwardly. You don't know either? Don't you often trade with them? We do have some dealings, but I've never been to Ice Sect. Every time we trade, it's always been on a glacier some distance away from Ice Sect. Those from Ice Sect. It was one thing for them to be unreasonable, but every time they put on a sour face as if we owed them money. On top of that, they were quite wary of outsiders, believing that Ice Sect was a pure land and that outsiders would only bring filth to that pure world. They won't be polite. So you don't know where Ice Sect is? Yang Kai frowned. Hipu shook his head and lightly coughed. Young lady has instructed that if things do not go well this time, young Master Yang should return to Water Spirit Island. Young lady will be waiting for you there. Yang Kai couldn't help laughing. That little girl, she even has ideas about me. Hipu's mouth twitched. He had never heard anyone call the young lady a little girl before. This young Master Yang's tone wasn't ordinary. Moreover, his relationship with the young lady was also unusual. The wind is strong outside, let's go in, Hipu said with a smile. My brothers have prepared some food and drink and would like to invite young Master Yang to join us. Good, Yang Kai nodded and followed Hipu into the cabin. Although Hipu and the others didn't know what the relationship between Yang Kai and Shui Ling was, they could still guess. Shui Ling treated Yang Kai differently than others, so naturally she wanted to establish a friendship with him. Yang Kai also took this opportunity to make the most of it, quickly becoming one with the crew, exchanging toasts and toasting each other, creating a harmonious atmosphere. As the days passed, the air became noticeably colder, as if as the iron ship sailed forward, they gradually arrived at a world of ice. The waves on the sea were also much weaker than before, and the ship was surrounded by a thin layer of ice. As time passed, this situation became more and more serious. Yang Kai knew that they were getting closer and closer to the world of ice, his heart filled with infinite expectation and excitement. Half a month later, the ship came to a stop. The sea in front of them was completely frozen, snow falling like goose feathers, and the ice on the sea was several meters thick. The ship could no longer move forward. Hipu skillfully directed the crew to pack the ship's supplies into universe bags and prepare to board the glacier. After a short period of work, everything was ready. Leaving behind a few people to look after the iron ship, the rest of the crew jumped off and braved the biting cold, heading west. The temperature here was extremely low, even a cultivator like Hipu wore a lot of winter clothing. Yang Kai, on the other hand, was wearing thin clothes, but not only did he not feel cold, his face was rosy, causing Hipu and the others to be amazed. They couldn't help wondering what kind of cultivation Yang Kai had, but in this harsh environment he was actually completely fine. What entered their eyes was a snow-white world, seemingly without any impurities, as pure as a newborn's eyes. The group of several people flew forward at full speed for several days before the transcendent in the lead suddenly made a hand gesture. Everyone stopped and squinted their eyes towards the front. In this world of falling snow, there seemed to be several figures in front of them, all of them wearing snow-white robes, but against this pure background they were impossible to detect. Yang Kai actually felt the life auras of these people, but he didn't point it out. After observing for a while, the transcendent in the lead finally confirmed it was them, a look of joy appearing on his face as he hurriedly flew forward. A moment later they finally arrived at the location of these people. These people should be the disciples of Ice Sect. Yang Kai swept his eyes over them and couldn't help feeling a chill run down his spine. Although these people didn't smile, their expressions were indifferent, and they were indeed a bit unreasonable, but no matter how high or low their cultivation was, their true essence was extremely pure. From head to toe, they exuded a chilling aura that penetrated the heart. The harsher the environment, the more powerful the cultivator would be. This was a well-known fact. Living an isolated life in this world of ice, it was difficult for Ice Sect's disciples not to be strong. It seemed that Treasurer Meng had spent a great deal of effort in entrusting Su Yan to this place. With Su Yan's temperament, this place was indeed very suitable for her. Both sides were familiar with each other, but even so, when the Ice Sect leader saw the people from Water Spirit Temple, he still showed some impatience on his face and asked indifferently, "How come you're so late this time?" Hipu quickly smiled, Sorry, some matters delayed our trip, sorry to keep you waiting." "It's best if there isn't a next time," the man coldly snorted. Hipu was almost choked speechless, rolling his eyes and not saying anything else, quickly gathering the universe bag so the people from Ice Sect could confirm the goods. After a short while, the Ice Sect leader nodded faintly, expressing his satisfaction with the materials sent by Water Spirit Temple this time, taking out 2 more universe bags from his sleeve and handing them to Hipu. After checking them, Hipu smiled and said, "Good, this time the handover went smoothly, it was a pleasure to cooperate." The people from Ice Sect turned around and left, not even exchanging a single word of courtesy. "Everyone please wait," Hipu hurriedly called out. The leader of the group turned around and asked unhappily, "What else do you want?" "It's like this, I want to inquire about a certain person from you." Yang Kai stepped forward and cupped his fists. "Inquire about a person? Who are you inquiring about?" The leader frowned, his expression quite impatient. "A woman named Su Yan, she should be in your Ice Sect." "Su Yan? And she entered your Ice Sect 2 years ago. If possible, I hope to see her." "Ice Sect doesn't have such a person, you've come to the wrong place." The leader didn't wait for Yang Kai to finish speaking, waving his hand and interrupting him before turning around and leaving. Yang Kai was slightly angry, but he didn't act on the spot, instead just coldly staring at the departing backs of this group of people. Soon these people disappeared into the snow and wind. "Young Master Yang, this." Hipu looked at Yang Kai with some sympathy. Although he had long known that people from Ice Sect weren't easy to get along with, this group of people was simply too indifferent, not even giving him a chance to speak. "You go back first, tell Shui Ling that this time I must thank her. If there is an opportunity in the future, I will personally thank her in person." "But young lady said that if things didn't go well, we had to bring you back no matter what, lest you be bullied here," Hipu frowned. "I appreciate her kindness, go back and tell her that it was I who insisted on staying." Yang Kai chuckled and patted Hipu on the shoulder. "Thank you for your hard work this time." Hipu was flattered and quickly smiled. Young Master Yang is too polite, this he wishes young Master Yang success. "If things don't go well, please leave as soon as possible, these people from Ice Sect are not easy to provoke." "I know. Everyone will meet again someday." Yang Kai cupped his fists before chasing after the ice sect disciples and quickly leaving. Looking at his disappearing back, he sighed and could only lead the others back the way they had come. Yang Kai released his divine sense subtly and locked onto the group of ice sect disciples, tracking them as they left. He was certain that this group of people knew Su Yan. Although the person who had spoken had kept his mouth shut, when the young woman next to him heard Yang Kai mention Su Yan's name, her beautiful eyes flashed and a look of surprise appeared on her face. Although she quickly restrained herself, Yang Kai still saw this. Yang Kai didn't know why they were denying Su Yan's existence, but if he didn't meet her personally, he couldn't feel at ease. A faint uneasiness lingered in his heart, as if something bad was about to happen. It stood to reason that Su Yan was entrusted to Ice Sect by Meng Wuya, and Treasurer Meng and Ice Sect Master had some friendship, a very good one at that. If not for this, Meng Wuya wouldn't have done this. Yang Kai believed in Treasurer Meng. Since that was the case, Su Yan wouldn't be wronged in Ice Sect, but this faint uneasiness made Yang Kai vigilant, vowing to find Su Yan and see how she was doing. Chapter 729. Atop the glacier, a few Ice Sect disciples wearing white robes were running, the group who had made a deal with Hipu and the others. This group of people, under the leadership of a middle-aged man, swayed left and right in an erratic manner. There were many large and small icebergs atop the glacier, and these people all wore white robes. Their method of concealing their auras was quite exquisite, so if one didn't carefully investigate, it would be impossible to detect them. The middle-aged man leading this group of disciples frowned as he led them forward, feeling like they were being followed, but when he released his divine sense to investigate, he found nothing, causing him to feel somewhat restless. After running for half a day, not only were they not approaching Ice Sect, they were actually getting farther and farther away from it. A young woman next to him finally couldn't help asking, "Martial Uncle and Irene, why are we running in this direction?" The middle-aged man didn't answer as if he hadn't heard her. The young woman pouted and asked again, "Also, that person just now said he was looking for junior sister Su Yan. Why did you tell junior sister she wasn't in Ice Sect? She was obviously here, I saw her a year ago." Only then did Irene look at the woman coldly. Being stared at like this, the woman immediately became terrified and quickly shut her mouth. A young man next to the young woman comforted her. "Junior sister, don't ask, Martial Uncle naturally has his reasons for doing this, it's all for our own good. Outside, people's hearts are sinister, that guy looks like a rat, at first glance it's obvious he's not a good person. Coming to our Ice Sect to look for someone, I don't know what kind of intentions he has." And, the young woman nodded, although she didn't agree with Martial Uncle and Irene in her heart, she didn't dare ask any more questions. Another disciple who looked somewhat steady picked up his pace and approached Irene, asking softly, "Martial Uncle, are we being followed?" Irene frowned and said lightly, "I don't know, maybe it's just my imagination. Among that group of people, there shouldn't be anyone who has the strength to follow me without being detected. To be on the safe side, let's take a detour." "Yes." Irene's brow wrinkled as he recalled Yang Kai's appearance, shaking his head, wondering if he had been a bit too cautious. Although that young man had an extraordinary temperament and wasn't a mediocre member of the younger generation, in the end with his age, his cultivation shouldn't be too high. However, what Irene cared about was that the person he was looking for was actually Su Yan, the woman who had inexplicably entered Ice Sect 2 years ago. Not long after joining the sect, this woman had already blossomed into a dazzling radiance. Even the sect master and several elders had said that she would one day reach the peak of the Third Order Saint realm. On top of that, her performance was truly amazing. When she first joined the sect, she was only an Immortal Ascension Boundary 8th-stage cultivator, but in less than a year she had successfully broken through to the Transcendent realm, her cultivation advancing by leaps and bounds. According to Elder Qianyu, over the past year, this woman named Su Yan had been in retreat inside the Ice Snow Cave, so no one knew what her current cultivation was. Ice Sect's secret scriptures and various secret skills, she had only needed a single glance to become proficient in them. This was something no one in Ice Sect's history had ever been able to accomplish. Her aptitude was not far from the legendary special physique, the Ice Crystal Body. Unfortunately, the Ice Crystal Body was too rare. No one had ever found anyone with such a special physique. Irene had only been in contact with Su Yan a few times, but he had learned from Elder Qianyu that a woman like Su Yan was the best talent to cultivate Ice Sect's secret skills. Originally, it was the sect master who had reluctantly accepted her into the sect, but after discovering her amazing talent, Elder Qianyu had the idea of accepting her as a disciple. Not only had she opened her secret scriptures and martial skills to her, she had even allowed her to freely enter the Ice Snow Cave. Unfortunately, this girl didn't seem to be very willing to join Ice Sect, causing Elder Qianyu to both hate and love her. As soon as Yang Kai mentioned Su Yan, An Ren became vigilant. If it were any other disciple, An Ren probably wouldn't have tried to conceal this matter, but since it was related to Su Yan, An Ren felt that he should first report this matter to Elder Qianyu and see what she thought. Thinking so, An Ren continued to shuffle through the world of glaciers and ice mountains. Yang Kai, who was following in the distance, narrowed his eyes slightly as a sneer appeared on his face. The other party seemed to be aware that he was following them, but couldn't be sure, so he was circling around in an attempt to throw him off. However, under Yang Kai's powerful divine sense, all of An Ren's efforts were in vain. 3 days later, Yang Kai noticed that the group of people had suddenly disappeared into an ice mountain, their life auras strangely disappearing without a trace. After waiting for a moment, Yang Kai frowned and walked over to the ice mountain territory. After carefully investigating for a long time, Yang Kai didn't gain anything, only able to determine that there was some kind of mystery hidden inside these ice mountains. However, what excited him though was that he felt Su Yan's aura. Because he cultivated the yin-yang joyous unification art, as long as both parties were within a certain range, they could sense each other's existence. Moreover, the yin-yang monster ginseng's energy flowed through each other's bodies, greatly enhancing this invisible spiritual connection. Su Yan wasn't far from him. Somewhere inside this ice mountain, her aura was even, seemingly having fallen into a deep sleep. No matter how Yang Kai tried to communicate with her with his divine sense, he couldn't get the slightest response from her. Yang Kai's face instantly became gloomy. Su Yan must have had some kind of accident. Otherwise, if she had noticed his arrival, she would definitely have run out excitedly. In an instant, Yang Kai's anger surged as murderous intent filled his eyes, his gaze becoming even more hostile. Inside these ice mountains, everything was crystal clear. The foundation of Ice Sect was located in this stretch of ice mountains. Many years ago, Ice Sect was one of the largest great forces in Tongxian realm, but because of an accident, Ice Sect was forced to relocate and live in seclusion here, no longer contacting the outside world or accepting outsiders. Every 10 years or so, the elders of Ice Sect would go out to find some disciples with excellent aptitude and bring them back to supplement Ice Sect's fresh blood. These people were all orphans who had no father or mother and were now wandering the outside world. The stringent selection of disciples allowed every disciple of Ice Sect to have the qualifications and strength to be proud of. Ice Sect didn't have many people, from the sect master down to only a little more than 500, but there were many masters, several Saint Realm masters and 20 to 30 transcendents. It was clear from this that Ice Sect's talent and vision for finding new disciples was extraordinary. At this moment, in the center of an ice mountain, inside an ice room, An Ren was reporting to Elder Qianyu about this transaction. Qianyu was a beautiful middle-aged woman, and although she didn't look very old, she was actually a first-order saint. Like Feiyu, she was skilled in retaining her youthful appearance. After listening to An Ren's report, Qianyu nodded lightly. "You've done well, thank you for your hard work. Take those disciples to collect some materials and cultivate." "Many thanks, Elder Qian," An Ren said respectfully, but didn't immediately withdraw, seemingly wanting to say something but hesitating. "Is there something else?" Qianyu's pair of beautiful eyes swept over him, keenly aware of something, and asked lightly. "It's like this, Elder Qian, during this transaction, something happened that caught Disciple's attention." "Tell me about it." "There was a young man who asked Disciple about Su Yan's whereabouts. I don't know where he obtained this information, but apparently he knew Su Yan was in our Ice Sect." "He was looking for Su Yan?" Qianyu's pretty face froze, her brow furrowing slightly. "What kind of man was he?" An Ren quickly described Yang Kai's appearance, adding, "He wasn't very old, but there was something strange about him. Disciple was incompetent and wasn't able to see through his strength, but he gave me a feeling of oppression." "He oppressed you?" Qianyu looked surprised, thinking about it for a moment before muttering, "Could it be the person that old man mentioned to Sect Master before? How did he find her so quickly?" When that old man brought Su Yan to Ice Sect and handed her over to the Sect Master, he had said that one day a young man would come looking for Su Yan. At that time he had asked the Sect Master to let him go, otherwise, it was very likely he would cause great trouble. The Sect Master and Qianyu hadn't known Su Yan's aptitude was so outstanding at that time, so naturally, they had agreed without hesitation. But now, after witnessing Su Yan's intelligence, Qianyu really didn't want her to leave. As long as she remained in Ice Sect with her talent, she would definitely inherit the position of Sect Master and become a powerful leader. What made Qianyu feel most helpless was that Su Yan was currently in a difficult situation, so it wasn't time for her to see anyone. The relationship between that young man and Su Yan was definitely very close. If he were to see Su Yan's current state, there was no telling what kind of trouble would ensue. Qianyu couldn't help rubbing her forehead, feeling a headache coming on, asking, "Did that young man come to Ice Sect?" "No." And Rin shook his head. Disciple felt that this matter should be reported to Elder Qian first, so he didn't tell him the truth. "Good, you did well," Qianyu nodded with satisfaction. Just as she was about to offer a few words of praise though, her expression suddenly changed and she released her divine sense to investigate, coldly snorting, "And Irin, you really are incompetent. That young man followed you to our Ice Sect, yet you didn't even notice?" "Ah." And Irin was shocked. "That's impossible. I deliberately circled around outside for several days to determine there was no problem before returning. How could he?" "Humph." Qianyu coldly snorted. "I said he came, so he naturally came. Moreover, this little brat seems to be very dissatisfied with our Ice Sect. His aura is somewhat violent at the moment. Elder, please calm your anger, disciple will drive him away." And Irin quickly said, a trace of annoyance appearing on his face. When he returned, he had been vigilant enough, but he had still been chased all the way to his doorstep, causing him to lose a great deal of face. "Go, bring more people with you, this little brat isn't easy to deal with, just teach him a lesson, don't take his life," Qianyu ordered. After all, this young man had some kind of relationship with that old dog. If she really killed him, it would be difficult to explain to that old dog and the sect master. Because of Su Yan's accident, the sect master had already reprimanded her once. Qianyu didn't want to be reprimanded again. And Irin quickly complied, bowing and retreating, his expression extremely cold. Chapter 730. Outside the ice mountain, Yang Kai's expression was also quite ugly, closing his eyes and probing his surroundings. From Su Yan's aura, he could infer that her life wasn't in danger, but for some reason she didn't respond to his divine sense call, as if she had fallen into a deep sleep. Several powerful life auras suddenly appeared in Yang Kai's perception and flew towards him at a rapid speed. Yang Kai opened his eyes, a cold light flashing across his pupils as he stared at the several Ice Sect disciples who had suddenly appeared. A moment later, these people arrived in front of Yang Kai one after another. "Sure enough, it's you, brat." And Rin shouted as he saw the gloomy expression on this little brat's face and thick murderous intent. At a glance, it was obvious he wasn't a good person. Towards this kind of person, and Rin didn't have the slightest goodwill. "You dare follow me? Your courage isn't small." And Rin coldly snorted, saying in a displeased tone, "I'm going to ask Water Spirit Temple about this. Is Water Spirit Temple the kind of place that cultivates such insidious villains?" He had seen Yang Kai act together with Water Spirit Temple's disciples before and thought Yang Kai was from Water Spirit Temple. "Water Spirit Temple doesn't care about me." Yang Kai snorted heavily. And Rin frowned as he glanced over at Yang Kai, calmly saying, "I don't care which force you're from, this place belongs to my Ice Sect. Go back where you came from, otherwise don't blame us for being impolite. Before I see the person I want to see, I don't want to go anywhere." Yang Kai glared at Rin, feeling a bit annoyed. This guy clearly knew about Su Yan, but before this he hadn't even given him a chance to ask questions. Now that he had found this place, this guy actually wanted to drive him away. His attitude was arrogant to the extreme. Yang Kai was furious in his heart, but he still endured. After all, Ice Sect Master had some kind of relationship with Meng Wuya, and Meng Wuya entrusting Su Yan to him was obviously out of good intentions. If Ice Sect could give him a reasonable and acceptable explanation, Yang Kai didn't want to make things worse. Right now he just wanted to know how Su Yan was doing. Yang Kai didn't get angry, but Rin did and shouted, "Little brat, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. In my Ice Sect's territory, you're the first one to dare speak to me like this. If you dare provoke me again, I'll teach you a lesson." "You can try." Yang Kai sneered. And Rin nodded slightly, "I didn't want to hurt you, but you asked for it. A junior dares to be so presumptuous in front of me, you simply don't know your place. Today I will let you know who is the master here." As he said this, Rin's eyes suddenly lit up. A pure white light suddenly burst out from his eyes. In this pure white world, it was extremely difficult to detect such a light. The light mixed with the cold aura was like a sharp sword, piercing into Yang Kai's head and tearing apart the defense of Yang Kai's sea of consciousness. It seemed to want to destroy him in one blow. A divine sense attack. Yang Kai's mouth curled into a cold smile as he slowly shook his head. I thought Ice Sex people were more powerful, but it turns out you're just Essos. If this is all you've got, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Although Ni Ren's divine sense attack easily pierced into Yang Kai's sea of consciousness, it was quickly incinerated by the scorching waves. Ni Ren's complexion changed, and the other ice sect disciples around him also stared at Yang Kai in amazement. Ni Ren was a first-order transcendent master, and although he didn't cultivate his spiritual energy, his soul was still relatively powerful. Dealing with such a junior, not only was he not injured in the slightest, he was even able to leisurely speak, a result that was difficult for all of them to accept. Junior brother, this little brat is a bit strange. Beside Ni Ren, another transcendent quickly said. Ni Ren nodded solemnly. Just now, when Elder Qian Yu had asked him to bring more people to drive this little brat away, Ni Ren felt like she was making a mountain out of a molehill, but now that he thought about it, it was fortunate that he had found his other brothers to help him. Otherwise, if he had come out alone, he would have suffered a big loss. Thinking so, Ni Ren stared at Yang Kai with a dignified expression and quickly said, Boy, it seems you have some skill. I won't embarrass you, you can leave now. I said before I see the person I want to see, I won't leave. Yang Kai slowly shook his head, his attitude firm, his expression becoming cold as he declared, If you don't let me see her, I'll flatten your 3,000 ice mountain world. Arrogant. Ice sect is not a place you can act so atrociously. Ni Ren roared. It seems that talking to you is useless, your status in ice sect isn't high. Since that's the case, I'll go find someone I can talk to. As soon as Yang Kai's voice fell, his figure leapt up and flew straight towards one of the ice mountains. From this ice mountain, Ni Ren could vaguely sense a tyrannical divine sense, as if someone was spying on him. Wishful thinking. Ni Ren shouted angrily, his yuan qi bursting out, Ice Seal World. The biting cold wind became even colder at this moment and an inexplicable energy suddenly appeared around Yang Kai's body, surrounding him. From this energy, icicles quickly formed and shot towards him from all directions, each icicle as sharp as a knife and filled with an imposing aura. In an instant he was submerged in this ice mountain. Ni Ren's expression, however, did not relax and instead became even more solemn. Shio. Icicles continued to shoot out, but at the center of the ice attribute energy, a blazing flame erupted, spreading at an unimaginable speed. Soon the red flame became as dazzling as the sun. Hong. The ice seal world collapsed and Yang Kai stood midair, his body covered in a fiery red light and exuding a scorching aura, staring down at Ni Ren indifferently. Transcendent Realm. Ni Ren's complexion changed greatly as his eyes lost focus. Feeling the fluctuations of Yang Kai's yuan qi, Ni Ren immediately understood what the other party's cultivation was. This young man, just like him, was actually a first-order transcendent master. On top of that, this young man's yuan qi was several times more powerful than his own. What made Ni Ren even more uneasy was that this young man's yuan qi attribute was the opposite of his own yuan qi attribute. Junior brother, be careful. While Ni Ren was in a daze, his brother beside him suddenly shouted and hurriedly pulled him back. Shio. A fiery red spear brushed past Ni Ren's body and pierced into the ground, creating a giant hole a few thousand meters deep in the ice seal world. Feeling the power of this spear that was purely condensed from Zhen Yuan, everyone's face paled. All of them were transcendent realm masters, but none of them had the confidence to resist such an attack with their bodies. If they were struck, they would likely die instantly. An unbearably hot yuan qi aura spread out, covering a radius of several thousand meters. Within this range, everyone's ice attribute secret arts were suppressed to varying degrees and the flow of yuan qi within their bodies seemed to slow down significantly. Yang Kai stepped out of the void, a cold light flashing across his eyes as he faintly asked, I'll ask you one last time, what happened to Su Yen? Little brat, if you want to fight then fight, we don't know who Su Yen is. Ni Ren braced himself and shouted. Good. Yang Kai nodded lightly, no longer speaking. A drop of yang liquid seeped out from his fingertip and flew out with a flick of his finger. This drop of yang liquid flew through the air and suddenly turned into thousands of tiny droplets that shot towards Ni Ren's group. Ice Curtain. Ice Lock. Ice Crystal Beast. Ni Ren and the other Transcendent Realm Masters all attacked at the same time, all kinds of ice attribute martial skills blossoming. A barrier filled with ice energy suddenly rose up in front of them, and at the same time, a white energy chain shot towards Yang Kai. Accompanied by the roar of a monster beast, a giant, ferocious battle beast suddenly appeared above the glacier. These battle beasts were all composed of pure energy and looked like carefully carved ice sculptures, lifelike and lifelike. Some ran on the ground, some flew in the sky, all of them fiercely attacking Yang Kai. Asterisk chi chi chi. Asterisk the 10 million droplets of yang liquid effortlessly pierced through the ice barrier, causing Ni Ren and the other Transcendent Realm Masters' faces to go pale as they summoned their own defensive artifacts to block in front of them. The ice lock that had suddenly appeared directly bound Yang Kai, but before the ice lock master could rejoice, he was shocked to discover that this martial skill, which was powerful enough to bind any first or second order transcendent, was directly melted by Yang Kai's true Yang Yuan Qi. It didn't even have the slightest effect on him, not even slowing him down. Yang Kai quickly rushed forward to meet the ice crystal beasts head-on. The beast soul seal that had not been used for a long time was once again used, the heaven-shaking white tiger and earth-splitting divine ox both appearing, their golden bodies burning like suns as they followed closely behind Yang Kai. Asterisk pa pa pa. Asterisk all the ice crystal beasts that rushed forward were no match for Yang Kai and these two beast phantoms, all of them shattering and disappearing one after another. In the blink of an eye, Yang Kai had already rushed in front of these people, his surging true chi and overwhelming momentum causing their hearts to tremble. They had never thought that among cultivators in the same realm, there would actually be someone who could single-handedly fight against all of them. Not only did he not show any signs of being defeated, he even seemed to be able to fight back with ease. Feeling the power surging through his body, Yang Kai couldn't help feeling refreshed. The combat power of these people from Ice Sect was far greater than any cultivator in the outside world. The two first-order transcendents from the Qing family that he had dealt with in Blue Water City were on a completely different level from these people. Although their cultivations were the same, their understanding of the heavenly way and martial Tao was different, so the combat power they could transform into was naturally different. In this regard, Yang Kai had reached the pinnacle. These people from Ice Sect were also doing a good job, but they were nowhere near as profound as Yang Kai's. Striking out one deadly blow after another, Yang Kai's anger seemed to be released along with these attacks, his mind gradually calming down. He had not come to Ice Sect to fight, nor to kill, he had come to find Su Yan. Thinking so, Yang Kai restrained his murderous intent, but showed no mercy. Ni Ren and the others tried their best, but not only were they unable to stop Yang Kai, they were also forced to retreat, showing signs of exhaustion. This scene caused them to feel fear in their hearts, and their attitude towards Yang Kai also quietly changed. Chapter 731. Outside the Ice Mountain, the several Transcendent Realm Masters from Ice Sect had joined forces to resist Yang Kai. All of them had thought that Yang Kai was just a young boy and that any one of their brothers would be able to easily defeat him, but Ni Ren and the others hadn't expected that Yang Kai's strength would be so outstanding. As soon as he took action, he was able to overwhelm all of them. Such a huge contrast made all of them jump in fright. Although everyone's Yuan Qi attributes were mutually exclusive in comparison, it was undoubtedly the other party's Yuan Qi that was purer and denser. When their Yuan Qi collided, the martial skills they displayed were like snow under the scorching sun, melting away before they could even touch the other party's body. Today, whoever dares to stop me will die. While attacking, Yang Kai suddenly showed an impatient expression and shouted coldly, a cold light flashing across his eyes. Ni Ren's heart trembled and he suddenly felt uneasy, subconsciously wanting to retreat and assume a defensive posture. Under the threat of Yang Kai's murderous intent, Ni Ren finally felt a sense of foreboding. Yang Kai's performance was completely beyond his expectations. He had never imagined that this young man could rely on his own strength to completely suppress his brothers. This is my Ice Sect, it's not your place to act presumptuously. Ni Ren clenched his teeth and roared. You just said the same thing, Yang Kai glared at him coldly, so what if you're from Ice Sect? I'll show you how presumptuous I am. As soon as these words fell, the wind and thunder began to rumble as a killing field formed around Ni Ren and the others. Wind blades were everywhere and lightning bolts quickly wrapped around them. The wind and thunder forces wreaked havoc in this killing field, causing the defensive artifacts in the hands of these people to flicker and lose their auras. In just a moment they had lost their effectiveness. The ice attribute Yuan Qi that had been protecting them was also unable to resist the erosion of the wind and thunder forces, ripping apart their clothes as numerous wounds appeared on their bodies. Feeling the aura of death approaching them, Ren and the others all went pale. They couldn't even escape after being imprisoned by the killing field. Yang Kai slowly extended a hand and slammed it down in their direction. Suddenly, a huge golden palm print appeared in the sky. It was as if the sun had fallen, bringing with it a scorching destructive energy. It was as if a mountain had collapsed. Before the palm print arrived, the world of ice had already started to melt. Waves of mist rose into the air. Ren and his several brothers all went limp and almost knelt on the ground. Their eyes trembled violently as they stared blankly at the huge palm print that was slapping down from the sky. Stop! A delicate shout entered everyone's ears, and a white figure suddenly flew out from inside the iceberg. In the blink of an eye, it arrived above Ren and the others, and raised a jade palm to meet Yang Kai's attack. The dazzling golden palm print directly collapsed, and Yang Kai staggered back a few steps. His face paled and some blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. However, Yang Kai was not surprised and instead smiled happily as he stared at the woman who had suddenly appeared. This woman was a beautiful middle-aged woman wearing a white dress. Her figure was full and mature, but her expression was cold as she stared at Yang Kai with a look of fear and disbelief, as if she couldn't believe that such a young man had so easily defeated Ren and the others. Ren and his brothers were all first-order transcendents and their strength in Ice Sect wasn't low. Despite outnumbering them, such an outcome was really difficult for her to accept. Chasing after him, Jianghu suddenly came to a stop, her beautiful eyes flashing a cold light as she stared towards Yang Kai's figure and shouted, "Provoke!" The world energy around him suddenly became strange, causing Yang Kai's expression to change greatly, his body coming to a halt as he hurriedly turned around. However, from all directions the ice attribute energy suddenly shot towards him, leaving him no place to dodge. Facing a Saint Realm Master's heaven-defying methods, Yang Kai didn't even see what was going on before he was struck. Hong Hong Hong. The ice attribute energy struck Yang Kai, causing him to tumble through the air, blood spraying everywhere as a faint golden light glowed around him. Unable to control his body, Yang Kai plummeted to the ground. Chapter 732. Today, seeing Yang Kai suffer such a heavy blow, Qianyu's face couldn't help relaxing slightly. This time she knew she was in the wrong. Denying Su Yan's existence and not allowing Yang Kai to see her was all out of selfishness, so even though Yang Kai had destroyed more than a dozen icebergs, she hadn't killed him. She had only wanted to force him to retreat. Su Yan, it was impossible for her to hand her over so easily. It was not easy for her to encounter such an outstanding person, so Qianyu wanted to accept him as her disciple. Moreover, Su Yan's current state wasn't good and she couldn't see anyone right now. Injuring him and driving him away was one thing, Qianyu thought to herself, but before she could fly over to check Yang Kai's condition, her expression changed again. Down below, Yang Kai, who should have been knocked unconscious, once again rushed up with the golden Yuan Qi wrapped around him. Impossible. Qianyu's beautiful eyes trembled violently. She was well aware of how much strength she had used just now. A mere first-order transcendent youth shouldn't have been able to withstand it. But now, her opponent only seemed to be slightly injured, and his momentum not only hadn't weakened but had instead become even more violent, as if he wouldn't give up until he razed Ice Sect to the ground. How tough was his physique? How could he withstand such a blow without fainting? Hong Hong Hong. One iceberg after another continued to collapse as Qianyu hysterically roared like a madwoman. "Little brat, you're courting death, don't blame me for not showing mercy." Yang Kai laughed wildly, "If you can kill me then do so. Let's see if I die first or if your Ice Sect's foundation is destroyed. If you won't let me see Su Yan, I'll bury you all with me." Impudence. Qianyu shouted. Seeing that a tenth of Ice Sect's foundation had really been destroyed, she finally decided to kill this boy. If she didn't kill this little brat now, with his current rate of destruction, it wouldn't even be an hour before Ice Sect had to find another place to relocate. Such a huge commotion naturally alarmed everyone else in Ice Sect. One by one, masters emerged from the various icebergs and gathered together. "Qianyu, what happened? Where did this barbaric brat come from?" A middle-aged man with a gloomy expression asked coldly. "Big brother, help me catch this little brat first, we'll talk about this later." Qian Yu hurriedly shouted as he chased after Yang Kai. The middle-aged man's brow furrowed. Although he was somewhat reluctant to deal with this young man, seeing him so violently destroy Ice Sect's foundation, the middle-aged man couldn't help feeling angry, nodding in agreement. Good. As he spoke, his figure flashed and appeared in front of Yang Kai. He coldly shouted, "Kid, let's stop here." Before he could finish his words, Yang Kai had already swept past him like a gust of wind. With a loud rumbling sound, an iceberg behind the middle-aged man shattered in an instant. How arrogant! The middle-aged man coldly snorted. Without any apparent movement, he suddenly appeared beside Yang Kai and pointed his finger towards Yang Kai's waist. Yang Kai's face went pale and his speed suddenly decreased. At the same time, an extremely cold energy spread through his body, causing the circulation of his yuan qi to slow down. It was as if he had fallen into a quagmire, unable to move an inch. A thin layer of frost appeared on the surface of Yang Kai's body at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even his hair was frozen solid. A second-order saint. Yang Kai's heart clenched as he twisted his body, quickly avoiding this middle-aged man. The yuan qi in his body rushed out violently, quickly dispelling the chill in his body and mind, restoring his freedom in the next moment. The middle-aged man showed a look of surprise and couldn't help muttering under his breath, "What a fierce little brat." With his second-order Saint Realm cultivation, injecting his frozen yuan qi into Yang Kai's body would have been enough to easily freeze anyone else, but this boy had only suffered a slight hindrance in his movements and was fine. Attacking Yang Kai once was already extremely difficult for him. If he were to attack again, it would be outrageous. A master like this middle-aged man was someone who was confident in his status and generally wouldn't act like bullying the weak. "Big brother, why aren't you attacking yet?" Qian Yu saw the middle-aged man standing mid-air with his hands crossed behind his back, giving off the demeanor of a powerful master, and couldn't help urging him. The middle-aged man frowned and quickly said, "What's the matter? Little brat, you should stop. I won't attack you again, but don't act too presumptuous. If you have something to say, let's all sit down and discuss it." As the middle-aged man spoke, the other two Saint Realm masters from Ice Sect blocked Yang Kai's path of retreat. These two didn't attack Yang Kai, instead showing calm and relaxed expressions as they stared at him with great interest, their eyes flashing with curiosity. 4 Saint Realm masters. Ice Sect's tyrannical heritage was clearly visible. Yang Kai was in the middle of this encirclement and knew that with the other side's lineup, he couldn't continue to act recklessly. Perceiving the middle-aged man's sincerity, he also stopped and stood mid-air. "What can I talk to you about?" Yang Kai looked at the middle-aged man and asked indifferently. The middle-aged man smiled slightly and nodded, "I am an elder of Ice Sect, Jianghu." Yang Kai glanced over at the beautiful middle-aged woman and sneered, "She is also an elder of Ice Sect. How do I know you two aren't wearing the same pair of pants?" Qian Yu's pretty face went cold and was about to speak but was interrupted by Jianghu, who smiled and said, "She and I are brother and sister. Don't you think we're wearing the same pair of pants?" "Big brother." Qian Yu glared at him bitterly. "But you have no choice." Jianghu's expression became cold. "You destroyed so many of my Ice Sect's properties. If you don't give me an explanation, do you think I'll let you go? You'd best have a good reason for your actions. Otherwise I'll let you taste all the torture in this world before torturing you to death." Yang Kai sneered and took back his wind and thunder wings, glancing over at Qian Yu and saying, "I was looking for someone but she refused to let me see her." "Looking for someone? Who are you looking for?" Jianghu frowned. "Su Yan." Hearing this, Jianghu and the other two Saint Realm masters raised their brow. "Big brother, this person should be the one that old fogey mentioned before," Qian Yu whispered to Jianghu's ear. Jianghu nodded slightly, indicating he understood but still grumbled, "If that's the case, why didn't you let him see her? Why did you have to cause such a big ruckus?" "Su Yan had an accident," Qian Yu said somewhat awkwardly. "An accident?" Jianghu was shocked. What happened? Although Jianghu was an elder of Ice Sect, he had been in retreat for the past few years and didn't know much about the sect's affairs. If it weren't for Yang Kai making such a big ruckus today, he wouldn't have been alarmed. Let's not talk about this for now. I'll explain it to you later. It's just that now is not the time for Su Yan to see anyone, and this little brat is ruthless and cruel. He's obviously not a good person. How can I let Su Yan come into contact with such a person? He's an old acquaintance." Jianghu sighed heavily. "I think it's more like a toad wanting to eat swan meat," Qian Yu coldly snorted, glaring at Yang Kai with even more disdain. Seeing his sister's poor impression of this little brat, Jianghu didn't say anything more. In any case, although his sister was in the wrong this time, this little brat didn't put ice sect in his eyes at all, destroying so many icebergs at once. If Jianghu really tried to turn this big issue into a small one, then a small one he wouldn't be able to explain himself in front of the sect's disciples. Considering all this, Jianghu coldly said, "Just because of this, you're willing to go to such lengths and even destroy my ice sect's property? If I'm not happy, no one will be happy. Little brat, you're quite arrogant, but I don't know if you can afford the consequences. I won't kill you, but I'll give you two choices. Either you join my ice sect as a slave and pay for the losses you've caused this time, or I'll cut off your hands. Choose for yourself." Saying so, Jianghu stared coldly at Yang Kai, wondering what choice he would make. "I won't choose either." Jianghu smiled and shook his head. "That's not up to you. And seeing that your aptitude is quite good, I'll choose the first option. Although your secret art is contrary to my ice sect's, you can still be considered a talent. It's a pity to destroy you like this." Saying so, an invisible energy suddenly burst forth and directly imprisoned Yang Kai. Yang Kai didn't show any intention of dodging and simply allowed himself to be bound. Not only did he not panic, he instead wore a look of victory as he sneered lightly. "What are you laughing at?" Jianghu frowned. "From now on you'll follow me and take care of me. Rest assured I won't treat you badly. Once you enter ice sect as a slave, you'll eventually be able to see the person you want to see, but that's only if you behave yourself, otherwise you'll suffer." "You want me to take care of you?" Yang Kai laughed. "I'm afraid you don't have that kind of luck." Jianghu coldly snorted. "Allowing you to serve me is an act of kindness, don't fail to appreciate it." Another Saint Realm Master also chimed in. "That's right, little brat, Brother Jianghu is being generous, don't fail to appreciate his kindness." The last person also chimed in. "Angering Brother Jianghu won't do you any good." Jianghu looked at Yang Kai with interest and smiled. "I don't care what you came to ice sect for, nor do I care what kind of grievances you've suffered, but the fact that you've acted so atrociously here is a fact. Not killing you is already the greatest mercy I can give you. Now tell me, what qualifications do you have to bargain with me? Do you think with your strength you can escape from my hands? Look around yourself." Yang Kai's lips curled into a sarcastic smile as he lightly reminded her. Hearing this, the four Saint Realm Masters all showed strange looks as they quickly scanned their surroundings. The next moment, the expressions of the four saints all changed greatly. From the beginning they had felt something was off, but all of their attention had been focused on Yang Kai, so they hadn't been able to investigate carefully. But now, under Yang Kai's reminder, they discovered that their surroundings were completely silent. Almost all of the ice sect disciples who had been forced out of the ice mountain were completely silent. Moreover, all of the ice sect disciples had pained looks on their faces and were unconscious. Chapter 733. After a cursory examination, Chen Kai found that more than 200 people were in such a situation. Regardless of their cultivation or age, each one of them was the same, their life aura somewhat chaotic. Even the sect's transcendents weren't able to avoid this. It was impossible for the sect's disciples to become like this for no reason, so the only explanation was that this little brat had done something to them. But what kind of skill did he possess to do such a thing under the noses of four saints? Jianghu and the others couldn't help feeling suspicious. "Did you do this?" Jianghu winked at the other two Saint Realm Masters while glaring towards Yang Kai coldly. "Guess. What did you do to them? Why are they all in such pain?" Jianghu asked sternly. Yang Kai laughed heartily, his smile extremely carefree. The two masters who had been instructed by Jianghu to investigate were shocked to find that there were no wounds on these disciples at all, nor were there any signs of poisoning. Looking at each other, both of them wore looks of confusion. If they weren't poisoned or injured, how could their disciples all become like this? Not thinking too much about it, the two of them quickly released their divine senses, wanting to carefully investigate what had happened to their disciples. But not long after they released their divine senses, both of their faces changed as they called out in alarm, "What is this?" While screaming, they began fleeing in panic, as if there was something powerful chasing them from behind. Seeing this scene, whether it was Chen Yu or Jianghu, both felt a chill run down their spines as a chill ran down their spines. "What's wrong with you?" Chen Yu asked. "Don't come over, don't use your divine sense to investigate." One of them went pale as he ran and shouted, "There's something that targets our divine sense, we can't get rid of it if we touch it." At the same time, the other man let out a miserable scream, his face filled with pain. The two First Order saints both looked like they had encountered a great disaster, both of them panicking. Qianyu wanted to help but didn't know where to start. Qianhao glanced over at Yang Kai coldly, a thoughtful look appearing on his face, a deep sense of dread flashing across his eyes as he quietly stared towards Yuan Qi. This little brat's methods were too strange, even a First Order saint had suffered a calamity, so he didn't dare not be on guard. After a while, the two Saint Realm Masters gradually stabilized, but both of their faces were still pale, their brow furrowed, a look of lingering fear on their faces. "Brat, what did you put here?" One of them looked at Yang Kai with a strange expression and no longer looked at him with contempt. He endured the pain in his spirit and asked. "Worthy of being a Saint Realm Master, you can still maintain your consciousness." Yang Kai's expression was relaxed as he praised. Not only were they able to maintain their consciousness, but their combat strength was also not damaged. In other words, they were not much different from before. They just had some worries. "What's going on?" Qianyu asked in horror. She was well aware of the strength of these two elders. If even they were affected, she would not have been able to escape either. Some kind of imperceptible insect has spread throughout the knowledge seas of those disciples. When we used our divine senses to investigate, we were also infected. One of them glared at Yang Kai with resentment and slowly explained, "Although we were able to temporarily suppress these insects, it will take some time to get rid of them. With the disciples' current strength, I'm afraid they won't be able to do so." "Exotic insects?" Chen Yu's beautiful face paled. "What kind of insects?" "I don't know, we'll have to ask him." Qianhao took a deep breath, hesitating for a moment before releasing the shackles on Yang Kai and saying lightly, "Boy, you win. I'll let you go first to show my ice sect's sincerity. Now answer our questions obediently. A wise man submits to circumstances." Yang Kai smiled sarcastically. The faces of the four elders sank. 4 saints against a single First Order transcendent, but not only were they unable to do anything to him, 2 of them had also fallen victim to his underhanded tricks. Ice Sect's foundation had been destroyed and hundreds of its disciples were still alive. This time they had lost a great deal of face. Although Yang Kai's sarcasm had angered them greatly, none of them dared to act out. "What kind of insects are they?" Qianhao asked in a deep voice. "Since you released them, you should know better than anyone else, right?" Yang Kai gently nodded and said, "Soul-devouring insects, haven't you heard of them before?" Hearing this, the 4 elders' expression became solemn. Naturally, they had heard of the soul-devouring insects. These exotic ancient insects were so small that they were almost imperceptible and specialized in devouring spiritual energy. Once infected, they would rapidly multiply, making them extremely difficult to eliminate. However, these were only exotic insects they had heard of in legends. Who would have thought they were still alive? "Little brat." One of the elders who had been infected by the soul-devouring insects coldly snorted, "Although my ice sect is isolated from the rest of the world, we are not ignorant. These soul-devouring insects are indeed powerful, but to think they can devour the soul of a Saint Realm cultivator is simply a fantasy. These can't possibly be soul-devouring insects." Soul-devouring insects were something a Saint Realm cultivator could easily deal with and avoid harming themselves. Powerful spiritual energy could easily kill these exotic ancient insects in an instant. So when Yang Kai reported the name of these insects, his first reaction was that he was lying. Yang Kai grinned, "Sorry, my soul-devouring insects may not be the same as the ones described in legends, they are actually a bit more powerful." It had been almost 2 years since Yang Kai had followed Sangyan and Feiyu into the ancient mansion and obtained these exotic ancient insects. During these 2 years, the soul-devouring insects had been living on the 5-colored island in Yang Kai's knowledge sea and had been greatly nourished. Yang Kai could also feel that they had become even more powerful. While Yang Kai was entangled with Qianyu, he had destroyed many of the ice mountains and scattered countless soul-devouring insects along the way. All the ice sect disciples who had been forced out had fallen victim to these insects, without exception. "You say they're soul-devouring insects? Why are you safe and sound? How did you release them?" The man asked coldly. "You ask too many questions, I have no obligation to answer them." Yang Kai glanced at him contemptuously. "I can only tell you that your ice sect disciples won't be in danger for half an hour, but after half an hour, I can't guarantee that. These little insects aren't very obedient. You're digging your own grave. If even a single one of my ice sect disciples dies, you can prepare to die." Yang Kai laughed. "You want to bury hundreds of people with me? As long as you're willing, I don't care if I die." The 4 people suddenly went silent, feeling a headache coming on. Ice sect didn't have many disciples, at most 500. If 200 to 300 of them were to die at once, the loss would be too great. This little brat was simply an unscrupulous demon, a piece of meat on the chopping block, hateful to the extreme. The four people hated Yang Kai to the bone, but for fear of breaking the vases, they didn't dare act rashly, although they had absolute confidence they could kill this little brat in one blow. But after killing him, what would happen to those soul-devouring insects? But if they had to admit defeat now, none of them would be able to swallow this insult. Just as they were silently cursing in their hearts, a woman's voice suddenly floated over, "Little brat, is your surname Yang?" Yang Kai's face changed dramatically because he hadn't noticed anyone approaching, but when he looked towards the source of the voice, he was shocked to find that not far away, a graceful figure had appeared. This woman looked extremely young, at most about the same age as Su Yan, but her cultivation was unfathomable and her aura was stable, like an ancient well without any fluctuations. Yang Kai felt great pressure from her. This kind of pressure was something he hadn't felt from the four elders of Ice Sect. Standing there, she seemed to be one with this frozen world, omnipresent. Third Order Saint. Yang Kai took a deep breath, his expression becoming vigilant. Although he knew this was a powerful enemy, after listening to this woman's words, the violence and anger in Yang Kai's heart actually weakened significantly. Her voice seemed to contain a mysterious power that seemed to be able to dissolve the resentment and injustice in his heart. It was soft and gentle like the sound of nature, extremely pleasant to the ear. "Greetings, Sect Master." Qian Hao and the others also bowed respectfully. The woman smiled lightly, "There's no need to be polite, isn't the noise you've made a bit too big?" Although her tone didn't reveal any trace of blame, Qian Hao and the others couldn't help feeling a little ashamed, as if they wanted to find a hole to crawl into, their faces flushed red. Yang Kai's eyes flashed as he asked, "Are you the Sect Master of Ice Sect?" "And I am the Sect Master of Ice Sect, Qinya." The woman nodded gently, her face filled with a faint smile. The woman gently nodded with a smile on her face. Her aura was extremely pure, like a glacier without the slightest impurity. Just looking at her would make one feel refreshed. Her voice was soft as she asked again, "Is your surname Yang?" The hostility on Yang Kai's face was greatly reduced and his expression relaxed as he nodded slightly. "Then there's no mistake, the person Meng Wuya was talking about was you, right?" "Yes." "You're even more outstanding than he described. I hadn't expected you to find this place so quickly," Qinya smiled lightly. "I also didn't expect Ice Sect Master to be so young and beautiful. I thought Treasurer Meng's friend was a white-haired old woman, but seeing you today is an eye-opener." Yang Kai looked her up and down, a look of amazement filling his face, but his eyes were clear and filled with amazement, without the slightest obscenity. "What do you think?" Qinya seemed to be very happy, her smile becoming more and more cheerful. "Smelly brat, smooth talking." Qian Yu curled her lips. "Sure enough, you're not a good person. Treasurer Meng actually knows someone like you. It seems I've underestimated him." Yang Kai nodded seriously. Qinya giggled. Yang Kai's flattery was so subtle that it made her feel quite happy. Qian Hao and the others were secretly watching from the sidelines, their hearts filled with a bitter taste. They hadn't seen their sect master smile like this for a long time. None of them had expected that a little brat who had popped out of nowhere would be able to tease their sect master to such an extent. This little brat is definitely a womanizer, otherwise how could he have such a clear understanding of women's thoughts? All of them cursed in their hearts, their expressions filled with disdain. After walking for about half a cup of tea's worth of time, the three of them arrived in front of a huge ice room. Qinya glanced back at Yang Kai and said, "Su Yan is in here, but you have to promise me that you won't get too excited." "I know," Yang Kai responded faintly. Qinya nodded lightly, pushed open the door of the ice room, and was the first to walk in, Yang Kai and Chen Yu following closely behind. Inside the ice room there was nothing but an ice bed. On this ice bed, Su Yan's eyes were closed, her body wrapped in ice, seemingly in a deep sleep. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed as a monstrous anger rose in his heart, but he quickly suppressed it and slowly walked towards the ice bed. Qinya and Chen Yu both stared at him, the two of them strangely discovering that the moment this arrogant and insidious young man saw Su Yan, his ferocious face calmed down and his pair of eyes filled with a deep sense of longing, so gentle it was almost as if water would drip from them. The expression on Yang Kai's face constantly changed, seemingly a mix of fear and expectation as he slowly approached the ice bed. As he walked, his expression gradually calmed down. Arriving in front of the ice bed, Yang Kai stared at the jade figure on the bed, his mouth curling into a slight smile. Su Yan was lying on the bed, her life was not in danger, but her whole body was wrapped in an extremely strange ice, as if she was sealed in ice, completely unresponsive to Yang Kai's arrival. Yang Kai stretched out his hand but couldn't touch her. Quietly observing, Su Yan's expression was calm, her two hands naturally resting on her flat stomach. Before she was sealed in ice, she seemed to have a high level of awareness and didn't feel the slightest pain. Moreover, at this moment the Yuan Qi in Su Yan's body was still circulating rapidly, and the secret art she cultivated was still operating at a faster rate than usual. Knowing that Yang Kai's mood was fluctuating, Qinya and Qianyu tactfully kept quiet and didn't disturb him. As time passed by, Qinya's expression didn't change, but Qianyu was becoming impatient. More than 200 ice sect disciples had encountered a great disaster. If Yang Kai didn't take back his soul-devouring insects after half an hour, they would all die, so Qianyu couldn't help urging, "Little brat, how much longer are you going to watch? No matter how much you watch, you won't be able to wake her up. Not only has she frozen her body but she has also frozen her consciousness." Yang Kai suddenly turned around and stared at her coldly. Qianyu unconsciously averted her gaze, as if she had a guilty conscience. "Is this a martial skill?" Yang Kai turned to Qinya and asked. Qinya nodded lightly, "And this is one of my ice sect's secret arts, Ice Body Sealed Heart. After using this secret art, one's Yuan Qi will condense, sealing one's body and mind in ice, causing one to lose all sensation in an instant." "Then why is senior sister's secret art still operating?" Yang Kai frowned. Qinya smiled lightly. "Ice Body Sealed Heart is a secret art that assists one's cultivation. When my ice sect's disciples use this technique, they can force themselves into a state of complete selflessness. Cultivating in this state allows them to cultivate much faster than normal. Many disciples use this move when they are in seclusion. Depending on the amount of true essence and comprehension used to use this martial skill, the duration of the frozen body locked heart is also different." "How long does my senior sister's secret art last?" Yang Kai asked. Qinya's expression became gloomy as she slowly shook her head. "I can't say, it could be a dozen years, it could be a few decades, it could also be forever. Su Yan is currently using the Yuan Qi she cultivates to maintain the frozen state outside her body." Yang Kai narrowed his eyes. "Why does she want to freeze herself? Did she suffer some kind of grievance in your ice sect? Was she abused?" Saying so, he turned an unfriendly look towards Qianyu. "Smelly brat, what are you looking at me for? I like her so much, how could I abuse her?" Qianyu suddenly became annoyed. "Little brat, don't worry, Elder Qianyu won't mistreat Su Yan, she still wants to accept your senior sister as her disciple." Qinya quickly tried to persuade him. "I'm afraid she won't have that kind of luck." Yang Kai hated this beautiful woman Qianyu from the bottom of his heart. "However, this matter really has something to do with Elder Qianyu," Qinya sighed softly. "Su Yan becoming like this is partly her responsibility." Qianyu's expression also became gloomy as she said bitterly, "I didn't expect her to be like this, nor did I know when she learned the Ice Body Sealed Heart. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have forced her like this, ha." Saying so, she glanced over at Yang Kai and coldly said, "Boy, I won't deny this, but I did it for her own good, I didn't mean to harm her." "What happened?" Yang Kai's eyes spat fire. Although Qianyu had said so, it was still just her side of the story, so he still had to ask her clearly about the situation. "Qianyu, tell me?" Qinya rubbed her forehead. Qianyu nodded slightly and began recounting what happened after Su Yan entered Ice Sect. 2 years ago, Meng Wuya suddenly brought Xianing Chang and Su Yan to Ice Sect and found Ice Sect Master Qinya, entrusting her with the task of taking care of Su Yan temporarily. Ice Sect lived in seclusion in this ice world and generally did not accept outsiders, but Meng Wuya had some friendship with Qinya after all. Unable to resist this old man's shameless coaxing, Qinya had no choice but to agree. After entrusting Su Yan to Ice Sect, Meng Wuya and Xianing Chang left. That old man said that what he was going to do was very dangerous. Taking his disciple with him was one thing, but he couldn't bring Su Yan along and put her in danger, so he secretly left Su Yan here. It wasn't until that old man left that Su Yan learned the truth and had no choice but to temporarily live in Ice Sect, Qianyu explained. Yang Kai nodded lightly. Treasurer Meng's actions were understandable. He definitely hadn't told Su Yan his purpose in coming to Ice Sect in advance, otherwise with Su Yan's personality, she would definitely have followed Treasurer Meng and helped him instead of staying in Ice Sect to live a comfortable life. And then? Yang Kai asked. Then Sect Master handed Su Yan over to me. At first I didn't pay much attention to her. Although her strength wasn't low when she came here, it wasn't too high either. But soon I discovered that this child's talent was unparalleled and her cultivation speed was incredibly fast. What was most commendable though was that the secret art she cultivated was in line with my ice attribute secret art. I think that old man must have had a premeditated plan to entrust Su Yan to Ice Sect. Yang Kai's mouth twitched, thinking that it would be strange if Meng Wuya didn't have a premeditated plan. Meng Wuya definitely knew many powerful masters on Tongshan realm, and Chu Lingxiao was an old acquaintance of his, yet he had sent Su Yan here. Obviously he had taken a fancy to Ice Sect's heritage. Meng Wuya's move was obviously to get Ice Sect to help teach Su Yan for free. If it were Yang Kai he would have done the same. Chapter 735. After witnessing Su Yan's extraordinary aptitude, Qianyu had gradually taken a liking to her and wanted to test her. How could she have imagined that Su Yan would be able to learn all of Ice Sect's martial skills and secret scriptures so quickly? Qianyu was pleasantly surprised, thinking she had picked up a treasure. From then on, she began to carefully teach Su Yan, taking great care of her. Ice Sect's restricted area, the Ice Cave, was even open to her, allowing her to freely enter and cultivate. After a few days like this, Qianyu proposed to accept Su Yan as a disciple, but to her surprise, Su Yan did not agree, causing her to feel a little disappointed. However, cherishing Su Yan's aptitude, Qianyu didn't blame her and instead continued to take care of her. Su Yan was very grateful to her, and although she didn't call her master, she still treated her as a junior. This child's aptitude is unquestionable, and her physique is very pure. I don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter she had, but it seems to be very close to the legendary ice crystal body, Qianyu slowly said. Her face filled with doubt, but after carefully reading some ancient books, I found that her physique is not the ice crystal body. Yang Kai snorted lightly. He had given Su Yan so much myriad drug liquid and myriad drug milk at the time. After so many years of consuming it, it would be strange if her physique wasn't pure. Moreover, I often see her alone in contemplation, and every time she does so, a happy smile will appear on her face. Qianyu glanced at Yang Kai coldly. There will also be a look of reminiscence in her eyes. Yang Kai sniffed. Qianyu pursed her lips and smiled, quietly sizing up Yang Kai, also somewhat puzzled, wondering what was so special about this little brat that he could actually make Su Yan so moved. My Ice Sect's disciples cultivate ice attribute secret arts, so they must be pure of heart and few desires in order to achieve great success. This child often shows such a look of yearning. It's all because of you. Qianyu said, her anger rising as she glared hatefully at Yang Kai, seemingly thinking that it was this guy who was hindering Su Yan's future development. Yang Kai curled his lips and said with disdain, "You old woman, how would you know the beauty of female love? You." Qianyu was so angry that her body started to tremble. Her face turned pale and her yuan qi started to surge. It was as if she wanted to slap Yang Kai to death to vent her anger. "This child, what are you talking about?" Qianyu rebuked as she glared at Yang Kai. Yang Kai said impatiently, "Okay, go on." Qianyu clenched her teeth tightly, her chest heaving up and down. It seemed that she was quite angry, and her beautiful eyes were filled with hatred. After a long while, she finally calmed down under Qianyu's comforting words. She turned her head and said, "I'm not in the mood, let's not talk about it anymore." Yang Kai sneered and looked towards Qianyu with a questioning gaze. The Ice Master sighed helplessly and slowly said, "I'll tell you." Originally, Su Yan's aptitude was excellent and her progress was gratifying. Elder Qianyu wanted to accept her as a disciple, but after being rejected, he didn't pay her any mind. He only thought that one day he would be able to convince her with sincerity and one day she would willingly enter my Ice Sect and become a disciple. Unfortunately, good times don't last. Qianyu frowned slightly. After coming here for a year, Elder Qianyu and I both discovered a problem with Su Yan. What problem? Yang Kai asked anxiously. She seems to be cultivating more than one kind of secret art. Inside her body, there is another kind of secret art that coexists with her original ice attribute secret art. Qianyu slowly shook her head. If she didn't have this kind of secret art, Su Yan would have no hidden dangers if she only cultivated the ice attribute secret art, but this unknown secret art seems to be hindering the progress of her original secret art. Hindrance? And, although there is no problem for the time being, if this situation continues for a long time without proper guidance, not only will Su Yan's strength not make any progress, it will instead be in danger of regressing. Qingye looked at Yang Kai. Since you and this child are senior sister and she is so devoted to you, you should know what kind of secret art she cultivates, right? I know, Yang Kai nodded. What kind of secret art? Qingye and Qian Yu both asked quickly. A dual cultivation secret art, Yang Kai said bluntly. The two women blushed at once, Qian Yu cursing in disdain. You bastard, you really are the culprit behind Su Yan's misfortune. If you hadn't taken her virginity early on and allowed her to maintain her natural body, how could she have achieved so little now? What do you know? Yang Kai snorted disdainfully. This woman seemed to want to put all the blame on him, causing Yang Kai to be very dissatisfied. From the time he had met Su Yan until now, cultivating the joyous unification art had not only brought her no harm, it had instead brought her many benefits. The reason why Yang Kai and Su Yan's strength had progressed so quickly was because of the joyous unification art. A dual cultivation secret art? Qingye frowned. How could you cultivate such a vulgar secret art? Although a dual cultivation secret art can allow one to grow quickly, generally speaking one's foundation will not be stable. Sooner or later it will become a hidden danger on your path to growth. How is a dual cultivation secret art? Isn't your thinking too conservative? Yang Kai glanced at her. Besides, Su Yan and I both have a stable foundation, you should be clear about this. Qingye's expression suddenly became suspicious. Indeed, if she had really cultivated a dual cultivation secret art, it would have been impossible for Su Yan to have her current foundation in cultivation. With her strength reaching such a level, all the hidden dangers she had buried in the past should have erupted long ago. But she was still outstanding. This little brat in front of her was also the same. Being able to contend with a master like Qian Yu with just a first-order transcendent cultivation was not something just anyone could accomplish. The only explanation was that the dual cultivation secret art these two were cultivating was definitely very high-end, and not only was it not harmful to the two of them, it also had various benefits. It wasn't that such a secret art didn't exist in this world, but when people heard of a dual cultivation secret art, it was inevitable that they would think it was some kind of dirty trick. Let's not talk about this for now. After all, we haven't seen a dual cultivation secret art, so it's not appropriate for us to comment on it. Qingye's face flushed red as she changed the subject. But when Elder Qian Yu discovered this problem, she hoped that Su Yan would abolish that unknown secret art and devote herself to cultivating her ice attribute secret art. If she abolishes that secret art, my ice sect's other supreme secret art can also be cultivated, which will only bring her benefits, no harm. My senior sister refused, right? Yang Kai stared at her coldly. Qian Yu and I didn't know why she refused so bluntly, but now it seems that this secret art should be the connection between you and her, so she refused to abolish it. Qingye sighed faintly. This child can be considered an infatuated person. Unfortunately, some people aren't worthy of her. Qian Yu's words were laced with sarcasm, her face filled with disdain. If you dare speak any more nonsense, I'll have your ice sect's 200 disciples die right now. Yang Kai glared at Qian Yu coldly, causing Qian Yu to grit her teeth, a ferocious expression appearing on her face as if she wanted to swallow Yang Kai alive. Qingye continued. Elder Qian Yu tried to persuade her several times, but she refused. In the end, Elder Qian Yu tried to forcibly abolish her secret art, but unfortunately she seemed to be aware of this, and before Elder Qian Yu could act, she used her ice body sealed heart and sealed herself in ice, not giving Elder Qian Yu a chance to act. Yang Kai grinned maliciously. So, the reason my senior sister became like this is all this woman's fault? As he spoke, his yuan qi surged violently, overflowing with murderous intent. Qingye's expression changed as she quickly said, "Don't be angry. Although I also feel that Qian Yu's approach was somewhat wrong, wanting to act without Su Yan's consent, in truth she had good intentions. My ice sect's secret art isn't something anyone can learn. It can only be said that her good intentions led to the wrong thing and harmed Su Yan. That is truly a great kindness. I thank you on behalf of my senior sister." Yang Kai grit his teeth and coldly snorted, his voice as cold as the wind blowing from the depths of hell, causing one's hair to stand on end. Qian Yu surprisingly didn't refute Yang Kai and instead wore a look of shame and indignation, her eyes darting around as she wore a pained expression. If she continued to argue, Yang Kai really might not be able to restrain himself and attack her here. Seeing her regretful and ashamed appearance, Yang Kai's murderous intent suddenly lessened. This woman was certainly hateful, but it seemed that she genuinely cared about Su Yan. Based on this point, Yang Kai didn't want to tangle with her anymore. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai calmed the monstrous anger in his heart and slowly said, "I understand what happened." Qingya frowned and softly said, "In fact, this isn't a bad thing. The ice body locked heart isn't harmful to Su Yan. In fact, if she remains in this state, she will be able to rapidly improve her strength. When she wakes up again, her cultivation will have greatly increased." "Wait for her to wake up?" Yang Kai sneered. "When will she wake up? 10 years? 20 years? Or even longer?" Qingya and Qianyu remained silent. Yang Kai's question was too tricky for them to answer. There had never been an ice sect disciple who had used the ice body sealed heart to such an extent. Su Yan hadn't even considered whether or not she would be able to wake up. If she didn't find a way to solve this problem, perhaps she would remain in this state forever. "Now that I've explained the situation to you, my ice sect's 200 disciples," Qingya asked. "You can rest assured, in the name of Ice Sect's sect master, as long as those 200 disciples are out of danger, no one here will embarrass you again." Yang Kai stared at her deeply for a moment before nodding lightly. Once again following Qingya and Qianyu out, Yang Kai spread out his divine sense, covering a large area and retrieving all the soul-devouring insects he had released. However, the two Saint Realm elders of Ice Sect who had been struck by these exotic ancient insects didn't ask Yang Kai to help them and instead returned to their own residences to enter retreat. They were confident that with their powerful cultivation and spiritual energy, they could kill the insects that had invaded their knowledge seas, so naturally, they didn't want to owe Yang Kai a favor. Qianyu and the others carefully examined the disciples and after confirming that they weren't in mortal danger, they relaxed. Chapter 736. A Sect. Half a month had passed since Yang Kai arrived, and during this time, he had been accompanying the sleeping Su Yan in her ice room, not leaving her side at all. In another ice room, the Ice Master and the 4 Saint Realm elders were gathered together, seemingly in a heated discussion. The 4 of them were each expressing their own views while the Ice Master, Qingya, sat silently on a crystal-clear ice chair. One of the Saint Realm Masters whose knowledge sea had been invaded by those soul-devouring insects shouted angrily, "That little brat doesn't seem to be anything good. I don't know what kind of special method he used to control those exotic ancient insects, but from the way he acted against my Ice Sect disciples, it's clear he is a vicious and merciless brat. Such a person needs to be expelled as soon as possible." Another Saint Realm Master who had suffered a loss at the hands of Yang Kai also nodded quickly, "I agree." Saying so, he turned to Qianhao and asked, "Brother Qianhao, what do you two think?" "He must leave." Qianhao hesitated for a moment before quickly saying, "My Ice Sect is a pure land, the moment he arrived here he brought so much strife. Such a person is always a scourge and cannot be allowed to remain." Qianyu didn't say a word, but from her expression, it was obvious she didn't want Yang Kai to remain in Ice Sect. "Sect Master." Qianhao looked up at Qingya. "It's time for him to leave. Staying in my Ice Sect all this time isn't proper." Qingya smiled lightly. "Why are you in such a hurry to drive him away?" Although his previous methods were indeed a bit extreme from his standpoint, he was forced to do so. On top of that, he showed mercy to my Ice Sect disciples. The souls of those disciples who were injured weren't damaged and will only need to rest for a few days to recover. We can't just burn the bridge after crossing the river. Qianyu's beautiful eyes flashed as she sighed. Besides, he came here looking for his senior sister. Now that Su Yan has fallen into a deep sleep and we don't know when she will wake up, if we insist on driving him away, I'm afraid it will only backfire and force him to release those exotic ancient insects again. Then what do we do? Do we just let him stay in my Ice Sect forever? There's no harm in letting him take Su Yan away. Qianhao proposed. When that old man came here, didn't he say that if someone came looking for Su Yan, we were to let them pass? We wouldn't embarrass them, nor would we bother with their previous mistakes. How about we just let him take Su Yan away? Qianyu frowned. Big brother, with Su Yan's current condition, if you let that little brat take her away, I won't feel at ease. Although she hated Yang Kai, she still loved Su Yan from the bottom of her heart. Naturally, he had to do everything in his power to protect him. He shook his head decisively. I won't agree to this. All right. Qingya waved her hand and said, let's not talk about this for now. From what I can see, that brat is also an infatuated person. For the past few days, he has been staying in the ice room without moving at all. How about this? I'll go talk to him first and see what he thinks. Perhaps he doesn't intend to remain in my ice sect forever. When the 4 elders heard this, they could only nod. The 3 male elders quickly left, but Qianyu stayed behind. Sect leader, I'll go with you. Qingye lightly nodded. The 2 of them got up and walked towards the ice mountain where Su Yan was. A short time later, the pair arrived in front of the ice room and gently knocked on the door. There was no response from inside, but Qingye felt some unusual energy fluctuations. Frowning, Qianyu pushed open the door and entered. At this moment, inside the ice room, not only was there a biting chill, but there was also a scorching heat. Glancing forward, Qingye couldn't help covering her mouth. Yang Kai's hands were actually covering the layer of ice around Su Yan's body, his yuan qi surging. "You idiot, what are you doing?" Qianyu immediately shouted, her figure flickering as she arrived in front of Yang Kai and waved her hand towards him. Yang Kai didn't try to resist, instead just turning his head and staring at her coldly. Qianyu's heart clenched and the palm that was about to hit Yang Kai suddenly stopped, grit her teeth and shouted, "What are you doing?" "It's none of your damn business." Yang Kai snorted. Qingye also hurriedly walked over and worriedly said, "Don't do that, you'll hurt Su Yan." "I know what I'm doing." Yang Kai responded faintly. He didn't want Su Yan to be hurt more than anyone else, so naturally he would be careful when he acted, making sure no accidents would occur. "Are you trying to contact Su Yan?" Qingye asked thoughtfully. Yang Kai nodded. He and Su Yan both cultivated the Yin-Yang Joyous Unification art. The Joyous Unification art had 3 stages. At the very beginning, one's body had to be merged before they could dual cultivate, but at the second stage there was no need for physical contact. One only needed to be close to each other and not too far away from each other to be able to fuse their yuan qi and sublimate their mind and soul. Whether it was cultivation or battle, this was greatly beneficial to both parties. Currently, Su Yan's body was wrapped in a thick layer of ice, so there was no hope for the first stage. This layer of ice was extremely solid and had been condensed from Su Yan's yuan qi, so Yang Kai didn't want to break it. He only hoped to use the second stage to dual cultivate with Su Yan and see if he could use this opportunity to communicate with her. However, even after trying for so long, he still hadn't made any progress. Su Yan's yuan qi didn't respond to his calls, the 2 simply couldn't merge. "Don't waste your energy, I don't know what kind of dual cultivation technique you're cultivating, but the ice body locked heart is one of my ice sect's secret arts. Once you use it, you'll lose all sensation. I don't think your dual cultivation technique will be any better than the ice body locked heart and be able to break through this shackle." Qianyu splashed cold water on Yang Kai. Yang Kai turned a deaf ear to her words, his brow furrowed. He had been experimenting for half a month but hadn't made any progress, so now it seemed that he could only try using the 3rd stage of the Joyous Unification art. If it still didn't work, then Yang Kai would be helpless and could only wait for Su Yan to wake up on her own. Yang Kai didn't expect to wake Su Yan up right now. Using the ice body locked heart wouldn't do her any harm and would instead benefit her, so there was no need to wake her up now. Yang Kai just wanted to be able to communicate with her and see what she was thinking right now. Yang Kai nodded lightly, thinking for a moment before suddenly remembering something and asking suspiciously, "Something's not right, sect master. I once heard people say that a long time ago, the strongest master in the world was the great demon god of the demon race. How could those sects be able to cover the sky with one hand?" Qingye pursed her lips and smiled. The great demon god was a legend of his generation, but that was even longer ago. What I'm telling you is from the era after the great demon god disappeared. So it's like that. Yang Kai nodded, also having some speculations in his heart. With the disappearance of the great demon god and the ancient demon clan being sealed, the demon race naturally wasn't a match for the human race. The Tongshan continent had a long history and was rich in legends. This was something the central capital couldn't compare with. Sect Master, I'll go out first, I'll leave when I come back, Yang Kai informed her before leaving the ice room. Looking at his disappearing back, Qinya slowly shook her head. I didn't want to drive you away. The sooner you leave, the sooner you'll be safe. Qian Yu snorted, quickly rushing into the ice room to check on Su Yan's current state, only relaxing after finding that she wasn't seriously injured. Inside the ice, Su Yan's mouth was still blooming with a happy smile. Yang Kai sprinted all the way, following the path he had taken with Su Yan before, heading towards the direction of the destroyed ice mountain. Half a day later, the collapsed ice mountain finally came into view. Without even releasing his divine sense, Yang Kai could clearly feel that under the collapsed ice mountain, there was an abundant energy fluctuation. Smiling happily, Yang Kai hurriedly rushed over. After a brief moment of bustling about, Yang Kai found a crystal-clear ice bead about the size of a longan fruit. The energy fluctuations were coming from this ice bead. Is this the cold ice jade crystal that Su Yan mentioned? Yang Kai held it in his hand and carefully examined it, quickly discovering that the energy contained inside it was truly extraordinary. What made him feel strange though was that inside this ice bead, there was a thick transparent liquid. This liquid exuded an extremely cold aura, and when Yang Kai released his divine sense into it, he felt as if he was about to be frozen. Yang Kai couldn't help showing a look of surprise. His current divine sense was not an ordinary divine sense, but rather a conflagrated knowledge C variant. If even he couldn't withstand this cold, it was easy to imagine how cold the liquid inside this ice bead was. Not continuing to investigate further, Yang Kai put the ice bead into his black book space and was about to return home when suddenly from the corner of his eye, he caught sight of an unusual piece of ice. Fixing his eyes on it, he couldn't help narrowing his eyes. Inside this ice block there was actually a dark skeleton. Atop this skeleton, the meridians were still there, but there was no flesh or blood, giving it a terrifying appearance. Could it be that one of Ice Sect's disciples had accidentally encountered an accident here? Yang Kai thought to himself. With the ice bead inside this ice mountain, this person must have been trying to find some kind of treasure when he was alive and accidentally froze inside it. However, what Yang Kai didn't quite understand was why this person's meridians were still there, but there was no flesh or blood. Yang Kai didn't want to pay attention to this, but after thinking about it for a moment he reached out and picked up the ice block that sealed the skeleton, hefted it onto his shoulder and flew back to Ice Sect. In any case, Su Yan would be taken care of by Qinya and the others in Ice Sect in the future, so if this person was really an Ice Sect disciple, Yang Kai should bring him back and let Ice Sect bury him. A day later, Yang Kai returned to Ice Sect. Qinya waved her hand and lightly opened her mouth. How do I explain this? In fact, I don't know much about this, all I know is from the mouths of Ice Sect seniors. This should be a race called the Bone Race. Bone Race? Yang Kai frowned. And they don't have flesh and blood, only bones and meridians, but the masters among them have extraordinary abilities. The reason why my Ice Sect is so weak is related to this race. No one knows where this race came from, but in addition to the Bone Race, there seems to be some other strange life forms that mysteriously appeared on Tongxian realm a long time ago. Remember I told you before that because of some unforeseen event, the great forces of Tongxian realm all declined? This has a lot to do with all of this. The reason we are living here now is also partly because of them. Our seniors said that some of the Bone Race had fled here, so we have been searching for them here. Over the past countless years we have found many frozen Bone Race masters and killed them, but since I took over Ice Sect, this is the first time I have encountered such a group. It seems that some of them have slipped through the net. That's quite interesting. Yang Kai's expression was extremely strange. This isn't interesting at all. What you found this time was just a very weak Bone Race master. If it were a powerful existence, my Ice Sect would likely have suffered a great loss. Chen Hao said coldly. Then why are you still here? Yang Kai was stunned. Although the Bone Race has masters, not every one of them is so strong, and we are not weak either. We are guarding this place for their sake, to prevent them from having the opportunity to go out and cause trouble. Qinya smiled slightly. Yang Kai's expression shook. So you mean to say that you are silently contributing to the entire continent? We are simply following the wishes of our ancestors. Besides, the outside world is too noisy, we don't want to leave here, Qinya smiled. Yang Kai couldn't help feeling awe. Elders, I'll have to trouble you to take some people and carefully search the surrounding area to see if there are any bone race survivors. Qingye turned to the 4 elders and ordered. Yes. The 4 elders responded in unison, calling out to the Transcendent Realm Masters before dispersing in 4 different directions. Yang Kai stood in place and pondered for a long time before asking worriedly, Su Yan isn't in any danger here, right? Don't worry. Qingye stared off into the distance. As long as I'm here, I won't let anything happen to her. Besides, even if there are bone race survivors, they won't be able to cause any trouble here. Hearing this, Yang Kai couldn't help feeling relieved, quickly taking out the ice bead from the black book space and handing it to Qingye. This is what I found in that ice mountain. Su Yan said it may be of great use to those who cultivate ice attribute secret arts. Cold ice jade crystal? Qingye raised her brow in surprise, quickly calling out, No, cold ice jade essence. What do you mean? The outer layer is cold ice jade crystal, but the liquid inside is cold ice jade essence. You're really lucky you even found this. Qingye stared at him in amazement. With this thing, Su Yan's strength will improve even faster. This is a supreme treasure for those who cultivate ice attribute secret arts. Saying so, she turned to Yang Kai with a smile. You giving this to me, aren't you worried that I'll take it for myself? It will also be of great use to me. Yang Kai chuckled and said freely, If you want to take it for yourself, then so be it. Su Yan has also received a lot of care from Sect Master here, so consider this a gift from Junior to Sect Master as thanks. You only know how to say such cheap words. Qingye shot him a disdainful look before sternly saying, Don't worry, when Su Yan wakes up, I'll give this to her. If their divine sense was stronger than his, they would be able to see through his disguise. Overall, Yang Kai was very satisfied with his gains this time. Standing atop the iceberg and stretching his muscles, Yang Kai gazed into the distance, but all he could see was the boundless ocean and nothing else. His face went black as he cursed silently. Although Yang Kai had consciously avoided the sea beasts and unknown dangers while he was comprehending, he had also become completely immersed in his divine sense, causing him to be unable to distinguish his bearings. His original plan was to first return to Water Spirit Temple and meet with Shui Ling. In any case, Shui Ling had helped him this time and was one of Yang Kai's few friends, so it was only right for him to meet her and say thank you in person. Then, using Water Spirit Temple as a transit point, he would return to Soaring Heaven Sect. But now his plans were a bit messed up. Standing atop the iceberg for a while, Yang Kai sorted out his mood and calmed down. As long as he could see someone alive and ask for directions, he would be able to figure out everything. Considering all this, Yang Kai simply sat down cross-legged and watched the rolling sea, his mood relaxed. Under the blue waves of the sea, schools of fish swam past, appearing to be full of vitality. Some colorful corals also opened Yang Kai's eyes. 3 days later, just as Yang Kai was looking at the clouds in the sky in boredom, the divine sense he released suddenly detected a life aura breaking into his alert range. Kai Yang's spirit immediately shook as he stood up and looked over. In the distance, there was a small black dot that was sailing a few dozen kilometers to the side. It was a large ship, and even from such a distance Yang Kai could clearly see how extraordinary this ship was. These ships sailing the sea were not ordinary ships, but rather ones that had been specially refined with some precious ores. These ships had traces of artifacts on them and their defensive power was comparable to that of precious artifacts. Only such a large ship could withstand the violent attacks of the sea beasts. There were many such ships in Water Spirit Temple. At this moment, this ship was even more magnificent than the one Yang Kai had been on before, its bow like a dragon's, cutting through the waves at an extremely fast speed. On this big ship, there were many brightly colored flags fluttering in the wind. Yang Kai slightly estimated the speed and direction of the big ship in the ice mountain he was sitting on and felt that after a while, the two would pass by each other a dozen kilometers apart. Immediately increasing the output of Yuan Qi, Yang Kai increased the speed of the ice mountain he was sitting on. A moment later Yang Kai took back his divine sense. Although he didn't dare to carefully investigate, Yang Kai was basically certain that there were no Saint Realm Masters on this ship, only a few Transcendents and even a few Third-Order Transcendents. With his soul-devouring insects in hand, Yang Kai didn't hesitate to stand up on the ice mountain and shout out loudly, trying to attract the attention of the other party. Sure enough, after a while, several figures appeared on the bow of the ship, all of them pointing towards him, apparently having noticed Yang Kai. However, looking at their indifferent figures, it seemed they didn't intend to pay attention to Yang Kai's shouts, the speed and direction of the big ship not changing in the slightest. Yang Kai's brow furrowed. Such a big ship had finally passed by, so of course he wouldn't let it go so easily. Now that he was lost at sea, he really needed to find someone to help him find his bearings. Thinking so, the ice mountain he was sitting on suddenly increased its speed and slammed straight into the big ship. The faces of the people standing on the bow of the ship immediately changed as they shouted out. On the big ship, the crew who heard the commotion were all alarmed and quickly ran to the deck to watch, some of them even being transcendents. After figuring out what was going on in front of him, the Transcendent Realm Master immediately became angry and waved his hand. Where did this brat come from, acting so recklessly? Shatter the iceberg under his feet for me, actually daring to act against my Holy Land's ship. And let's keep him alive for now, capture him and interrogate him about the situation. Let's see what kind of person he is. Receiving the order of this Transcendent Realm Master, the disciples were immediately filled with righteous indignation, the several people standing at the bow of the ship immediately displaying their martial skills and artifacts. Asterisk schwa 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 asterisk several energy beams shot out from the bow of the ship. Yang Kai was stunned, not having expected the other party to be so impolite, quickly dodging into the sea. With a loud rumble, the iceberg that had been carrying Yang Kai on the sea for 1 to 2 months suddenly turned into dust. As the pieces of ice scattered on the sea, the people on the ship all looked around, carefully searching for Yang Kai's figure, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't help glancing around at each other. Where is he? The Transcendent Realm Master had also lost track of Yang Kai just now, and when he tried to search again, he couldn't find him, so he couldn't help asking with an ugly expression. Everyone shook their heads. Another disciple muttered, "Could it be he was smashed to pieces? From what I can see, he's quite young and his strength isn't high." Nonsense. The Transcendent Realm Master shouted, daring to wander the sea alone, how can his strength be bad? At the very least, he should be an immortal ascension boundary cultivator. If he was really smashed to pieces, why isn't there any blood on the sea? This little brat must be hiding somewhere, search carefully for him. There's no need to search. A slightly annoyed voice suddenly came from the side of the ship, and in the next moment, Yang Kai climbed up and jumped directly onto the deck, frowning as he stared at the people on the ship, his expression ugly as he asked, "Everyone, we have no enmity between us. Why are you suddenly attacking me?" "We didn't want to attack you, we just wanted to break the iceberg under your feet." The Transcendent Realm Master coldly snorted, "If we really wanted to attack you, would you still be standing here calmly?" Yang Kai frowned but didn't say anything more. He had also seen the attacks just now and knew they weren't aimed at him, nor did they contain any killing intent. It was likely that his approach had caused some misunderstanding. However, Yang Kai didn't intend to let the iceberg hit their ship. Explaining this now was useless, so Yang Kai simply didn't mention it. Chapter 743. Young lady, what are you thinking about? A maidservant standing next to the saintess saw her remain motionless for 1 or 2 hours and couldn't help asking. Nothing. The saintess slowly shook her head, a faint trace of sadness appearing on her brow. Young lady, are you thinking about whether or not you can find the Holy Master this time? Baer smiled. I don't want to find the Holy Master. The saintess sighed softly. But this is young lady's duty. Baer's face also became gloomy. I know, I'm looking for him right now, but he hasn't appeared. What can I do? It would be best if he never appears, that way young lady won't have to worry about anything. Sure. The saintess quickly raised a jade finger to her lips and quietly glanced outside, whispering, You can only say this to me, don't say it outside, it won't be good if Uncle Chen and the others hear. I know, Baer stuck out her tongue. But young lady doesn't need to worry too much, my 9 heavens holy land has a total of 4 saintesses in addition to you. The other 3 are also looking for him, perhaps they will be able to find him. No matter who finds him, it won't be good. The saintess sighed slightly, stood up and said, I'm tired of sitting here, let's go out for a walk. Baer nodded quickly. Outside the cabin and looking around for a while, the saintess' mood improved greatly. Suddenly remembering Yang Kai, she quickly asked one of the disciples on the ship about him. Learning that Yang Kai had been hiding in the cabin and hadn't come out, the saintess couldn't help frowning. Because she was born with a special ability, she could basically spy on the true thoughts of others. When she met Yang Kai before, although she understood that he didn't have any hostility or malice towards her, she still felt that he was a bit strange, as if he was shrouded in a mysterious aura that made the saintess, who had always been good at observation, unable to see through him. After learning that he was safe, the saintess didn't have any intention of talking to him, and after resting for a while, returned to the cabin. Days passed, and the ship had been sailing on the sea for about a month when Yang Kai, who was meditating under the cabin, suddenly smelled a scent that made him feel nostalgic. It was the smell of soil. He hurriedly looked out of the window and saw that in the distant horizon, there were some irregularly arranged islands. Shocked, Yang Kai stood up. During this period of time he had been cooped up in the cabin, and it had suffocated him to death. Now that he saw land, he could finally leave this small space, and his mood instantly became happy. Half a day later, the large ship stopped at the side of an island, and a wave of footsteps came from outside the door. Not long after, the robust man called Cheng Fei pushed the door open and shouted, "Kid, we've arrived, come out." Yang Kai nodded slightly and followed him out. On the deck of the ship, the disciples of Nine Heavens Holy Land were disembarking in an orderly manner. On the edge of the island, there were also some cultivators who seemed to be local tyrants who were respectfully greeting them, all of them wearing respectful smiles. When Yang Kai saw the saintess of Nine Heavens Holy Land on the deck, he thought for a moment before walking towards her. His movement immediately attracted the attention of many cultivators. Uncle Chin's yuan qi surged as he glared at Yang Kai. It seemed that as soon as Yang Kai made the slightest move, he would immediately be mercilessly killed. Yang Kai acted as if he didn't notice this and leisurely strolled over to the saintess, cupping his fists and saying, "Many thanks for young lady's rescue this time, this one will remember it in his heart. I wish young lady eternal youth, health, and longevity." The saintess' eyelashes trembled slightly before she suddenly smiled. Chapter 744. Although Yang Kai had been in Tongshan realm for 3 or 4 years now, he was still in a state of ignorance. After listening to the waiter's explanation, Yang Kai realized that the saintess of Nine Heavens Holy Land going out on an inspection tour was a world-shaking event. Moreover, it wasn't until now that Yang Kai realized that Nine Heavens Holy Land had more than one saintess. There were a total of 4 saintesses who had gone in different directions. The itinerary of these saintesses covered almost all of the human territories. These saintesses had grown up in Nine Heavens Holy Land from an early age. After 10 or 20 years of cultivation and numerous selections, each one of them was young and beautiful and had cultivated the special secret arts of Nine Heavens Holy Land. Their biggest purpose for going out on an inspection tour was to find the next Holy Master of Nine Heavens Holy Land. Currently, the current Holy Master of Nine Heavens Holy Land was very old and likely would not live for long, so these 4 saintesses had decided to go out on an inspection tour. As for what method they would use to find the next Holy Master, no one knew, only that every Holy Master of Nine Heavens Holy Land had been found by the saintesses. According to historical records, before the first 9 Holy Masters were discovered by the saintesses, they had done all sorts of things. Some were young talents who had become famous throughout the world, some were just ordinary peddlers, some were mediocre people, but once they were found by the saintesses and entered Nine Heavens Holy Land, they would blossom into a dazzling brilliance and undergo earth-shaking changes. And when these 9 people were found, their ages ranged from 10 to 60 years old. The saintesses seemed to have a unique vision that was different from ordinary people. Because of this, when the saintesses of Nine Heavens Holy Land arrived, those who had illusions in their hearts would carefully display themselves. If they were really chosen by the saintess, it would be a blessing to them. That was why there were so many pretentious people on this island who were deliberately trying to show off. None of them knew what method the saintesses would use to select the next Holy Master, nor did they know whether the masters around the saintesses were monitoring the entire island, so they could only strive to be perfect and not make any mistakes. Yang Kai listened in amazement. Before this, he had never thought that such a bizarre thing could exist in this world. "Second brother, you know a lot." Yang Kai was impressed. The waiter chuckled. "It's something that everyone knows. It seems that you're the only one who doesn't know." "Then you don't have any ideas?" Yang Kai looked at him meaningfully. According to what he said, The Saint Master was most likely a mediocre person before he was found. The waiter also had a chance. Of course, why not? As expected, the waiter nodded heavily. But I don't think I'm good enough for someone like the Saintess. If she takes a fancy to me, it's my fortune. If she doesn't, it's only natural. I'll just live like before. I don't know how to act. Respect. The indifferent attitude of the waiter surprised Yang Kai. He cupped his hands and said, "Well, good luck to you, brother waiter. Thank you for your auspicious words, sir." The waiter beamed and went back to his own business. After eating and drinking in the inn for a while and obtaining the information he wanted, Yang Kai left. Now that he didn't have anything urgent to do, he naturally wasn't in a hurry to leave. The matter of the Nine Heavens Holy Land Saintess looking for the Saint Master was something he was quite curious about. Naturally, he wanted to stay and watch the show. Each of the 20 or so nearby islands was extremely lively. The Saintess looked at Yang Kai timidly before sighing. "I grew up in the Holy Land since I was a child, and this was the first time I had ever left the Holy Land, but wherever I went there were always people following me. It was so annoying. I just wanted to be able to be my own master for once, so I was able to shake them off." "You don't need to explain yourself to me," Yang Kai said lightly. "I have no interest in the affairs of outsiders. And when we arrive at the ancient ruins, don't get entangled with me. If you really encounter any danger, you can only pray for yourself. Don't expect anyone to come and save you." Chapter 746. Today, seeing Yang Kai's attitude suddenly become cold, the Saintess snorted, "I don't expect you to save me, just take care of yourself." Saying so, she angrily walked away, apparently unwilling to communicate with Yang Kai any longer. Seeing her like this, Yang Kai secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know what the situation below was, but perhaps there really was some kind of great danger. If this Saintess had been by his side all this time, he really wouldn't have been able to act freely. It was far better to be on his own and not care about the life or death of others. Although this woman had allowed Yang Kai to stay on the ship, they were only strangers who had met by chance, so Yang Kai had no obligation to protect her safety. In Yang Kai's opinion, this was just a little girl who had grown up in a greenhouse and wanted to prove her ability just because she had some skill. He needed to make her suffer a bit so she would understand how dangerous this world was. After waiting for a long time, the cultivator from the Seven Family Alliance finally finished their discussion. Under the yellow-faced old man's command, the selected outsiders gathered into 7 teams. When Yang Kai had signed up before, he had also chosen a random family, but only now did he discover that the family he had chosen was actually the high family this yellow-faced old man belonged to. There were about 40 outsiders in this team, each one of them looking quite strong, with one of them even being a transcendent. The Nine Heavens Holy Land Saintess was not in this team, instead she was with another family. The yellow-faced old man came to the front of the crowd, cleared his throat and swept his eyes over them. "This old man is untalented, but he is Hai Wang-gu, the protector of the Seven Family Alliance's high family. This time, this old man will lead everyone into the ancient ruins at the bottom of the sea. I ask everyone to listen to this old man's orders and not act rashly to avoid unnecessary casualties. And in addition to all of you, my high family will also send a dozen capable masters to cooperate with you. Since all of you have chosen my high family, then this high will definitely do his best to protect all of you. But let me warn you first, if any of you end up harming everyone's interests, then don't blame this high for being ruthless." Saying so, he swept his eyes over the crowd in a dignified manner, causing everyone to remain silent, not saying a word. Hai Wang-gu nodded with satisfaction. Then, "Life or death is up to fate, let's go." While he was talking, he was the first one to fly out. More than 40 foreign cultivators gathered together with the dozen or so cultivators from the Fair family. They closely followed his footsteps and rushed towards the surface of the sea. At the same time, the remaining 6 families also made their moves. While flying, Yang Kai secretly observed the group of people dispatched by the Hai family. There were only a dozen or so of them, but if he counted Hai Wang-gu, there were 3 transcendents while the rest were all peak immortal ascension boundary masters. Although their numbers were small, their overall strength was undoubtedly much stronger than this group of outsiders. The Fair family could be considered to have dispatched all of their elites. They had completely occupied the initiative. The other 6 families also had the same lineup. After a short while, everyone arrived at the surface of the sea. Hai Wanggu waved his hand and summoned out a disc-shaped artifact. This artifact was shrouded in a silver glow and exuded a rich energy fluctuation, clearly a spirit-grade artifact. "Everyone please come closer, this old man will take you down," Hai Wanggu shouted to the crowd. Everyone hurriedly moved closer to him. Hai Wanggu poured his true qi into the disc artifact, and suddenly, a silver light curtain appeared around him, wrapping up a 200-meter radius around him. Yang Kai guessed that she was asking him for help. How could he have the leisure to pay attention to her? Yang Kai couldn't even protect himself right now. After being covered by that inexplicable halo, Yang Kai felt as if his soul was being grabbed by an invisible hand and was about to be pulled out of his knowledge sea. Shocked, Yang Kai didn't know what kind of mystery was hidden in this situation, so he quickly immersed himself in his knowledge sea. Opening his demon eye of annihilation, Yang Kai was unable to avoid this fate. After persisting for less than 10 breaths of time, Yang Kai's vision blurred as his soul left his knowledge sea and entered a white world. One figure after another appeared in front of him, each of them wearing a look of panic as they glanced around in shock, unable to understand what was going on. These people were all soul avatars and were the cultivators who had gathered together before. In fact, there were more than 100 of them here. "Hey!" A shout came from the side, causing Yang Kai to turn his head vigilantly only to find that the 9 Heavens Holy Land Saintess was hiding in a secluded corner and waving towards him. Yang Kai frowned, but under her continuous urging he walked over to her. She was also a soul avatar now, so without the ability to change her appearance she was able to reveal her original appearance. "Do you know where this is?" The 9 Heavens Holy Land Saintess looked around and asked quietly. "How would I know?" Yang Kai frowned. Although he had some guesses in his heart, he wasn't certain. "I can see that you've been resisting for longer than anyone else here. Your true strength isn't just at the Immortal Ascension Boundary 7th stage, right?" The Saintess frowned as she looked Yang Kai up and down, suddenly a trace of surprise flashing across her beautiful eyes. "Hey, why is your soul avatar?" Closer to Yang Kai, she felt a burning aura emanating from Yang Kai. Yang Kai stared at her coldly. The Saintess smiled lightly. "Rest assured, I won't speak nonsense. Do you cultivate some kind of special soul skill?" "Yes." Yang Kai nodded lightly, not explaining any further. Normally he could hide the fact that he possessed a conflagrated knowledge sea. Even when using his conflagrated knowledge sea to fight, as long as he didn't display his conflagrated knowledge sea's power, he could deceive others, but when his soul avatar left his knowledge sea, it would inevitably show signs of burning. Saying so, Yang Kai squinted towards the Saintess in front of him, his heart filled with surprise. This Saintess had a mysterious power on her body that prevented Yang Kai from prying, so Yang Kai didn't know what her cultivation was before. But at this moment, with only his soul avatar here, Yang Kai was able to see through the Saintess' cultivation at a glance. First Order Transcendent. She wasn't much older than him, but she also possessed such strength. This 9 Heavens Holy Land was really amazing. I think it's best if we take care of each other, what do you say? Chapter 752. In this vast white world, the temptation and ready-made conditions in front of them drew out the dark side of the Seven Family Alliance's masters, and without a word, they began a slaughter, killing more than a dozen people in an instant. After feeling the benefits they had obtained, the expressions of these people became even more restless. The foreign cultivator was silent for a moment before finally reacting, one of them roaring, "I knew you were up to no good. Brothers, let's fight them." In an instant, more than 100 soul avatars were divided into two camps, the Seven Family Alliance on one side and the foreign cultivator on the other. A desperate struggle broke out inside the soul battle hall. Without artifacts, martial skills, or physical strength, the only thing everyone could rely on was the strength of their souls and the soul skills they cultivated. The two camps of cultivator collided with each other, constantly scattering soul avatars and transforming them into streams of energy that were absorbed by nearby cultivators. After swallowing the soul avatars of others, these cultivators also became more and more agitated, their murderous intent filling the air, as if each of them wanted to monopolize the benefits here and kill everyone else. After all, the Seven Family Alliance's cultivator was much stronger, each of them having one or two transcendents. When they took action, they could easily end the life of a foreign cultivator with a single blow. However, among the foreign cultivators there were also several transcendents. These people joined forces with their own helpers and were more or less able to hold on for some time, causing the Seven Family Alliance no small amount of damage. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot as they continued to scream and disappear. This cruel and crazy scene was almost unacceptable to the Nine Heavens Holy Land Saintess, her tender body trembling as she watched the melee, not even noticing someone approaching her. Yang Kai frowned, wanting to see what kind of skill this woman had, so he didn't lend a hand, simply watching from the sidelines. When she felt the approaching crisis, the saintess awoke from her stupor and her seemingly delicate soul avatar suddenly erupted with a destructive force, destroying the soul of the cultivator who was approaching her. The saintess frowned when she saw the remnant soul energy of the dead cultivator circling around her. She didn't absorb it like the others. Instead, she took the initiative to distance herself from it. Her face was full of disgust. Yang Kai secretly nodded. He felt that this woman was more or less capable, and her judgment was not bad. She knew that if she received such benefits for free, there would be endless troubles. As if feeling that Yang Kai was observing her, the saintess secretly glanced at Yang Kai, her beautiful eyes filled with vigilance. She didn't know if Yang Kai would act like the others and suddenly attack the people around him. If that was the case, she felt that she wouldn't be able to resist. From Yang Kai's body she felt a kind of pressure, especially that burning hot aura which made her feel a bit of dread. Yang Kai, on the other hand, no longer paid attention to her and instead continued to watch the melee with great interest, his expression indifferent. At this moment, the battle had become one-sided. The foreign cultivator was originally a mass of scattered sand, so under the attack of the Seven Family Alliance's masters, they had no choice but to join forces to counterattack. Although they had achieved some results at the beginning, in the face of absolute strength, they were quickly defeated. After the few transcendents were killed, the remaining immortal ascension boundary cultivator couldn't do anything. Standing in place, and Ling waited for about half a day before slowly opening her beautiful eyes. After adjusting her breathing, she had finally recovered. Seeing Yang Kai seemingly looking after her, the Nine Heavens Holy Land Saintess couldn't help smiling, a hint of sweetness filling her heart. Lightly stepping forward, she came over to Yang Kai's side and asked, "Should we go back now or continue exploring?" "I want to continue. There is one thing I want to figure out. As for you, do as you please," Yang Kai said faintly before stepping forward. Seeing Yang Kai's somewhat cold attitude towards her, and Ling pouted and quickly followed without saying a word. Arriving at the main hall in front of them, after a brief search, Yang Kai couldn't help but frown. This hall was originally protected by the Soul Battle Hall. Hai Wanggu, Old Man Cheng, and the others had joined forces with more than 100 cultivator to break the invisible barrier and had originally intended to explore this hall and search for treasures. But unexpectedly, after the barrier was broken, everyone's soul avatars were pulled into the Soul Battle Hall, causing their original plan to fail. Now, when Yang Kai and Enlinger came back to take a look, they were surprised to find that this place had already been looted by someone else. The hall had been turned upside down, leaving behind nothing of value. Did someone else come here to explore? Enlinger guessed. Yang Kai nodded lightly, agreeing with her statement. Although more than 100 of them had been pulled into the Soul Battle Hall, there were still many others who were active throughout these ancient ruins. Yang Kai didn't know how much time had passed, but it was likely these ruins had already been thoroughly searched. After realizing this, Yang Kai didn't waste any more time and directly left the hall, following the direction of the source of the Yang attribute energy. Although it had been a month or two since they arrived at the seabed, the Yang attribute energy here was still constantly being produced. Yang Kai really wanted to know what was on the other side. And Ling didn't say anything to annoy Yang Kai, simply following behind him obediently. Yang Kai knew that she still hadn't given up and wanted to persuade him to return to Nine Heavens Holy Land with her, so he deliberately ignored her. After walking for a long time, Yang Kai felt that he was getting closer and closer to the source of the Yang attribute energy, but amidst the fluctuations of this Yang attribute energy, Yang Kai was keenly aware of a special fluctuation. It was the power of the void. Yang Kai suddenly felt that something was wrong, thinking that he wouldn't be able to gain anything this time. Sure enough, after turning a corner, Yang Kai's footsteps came to a halt and he frowned helplessly as he stared ahead. However, when the pill cloud dissipated and the medicinal efficacies were released, Yang Kai was able to see some traces that he had not been able to see before. The selection of the pill's materials, the control of the flame, what kind of spirit array was used during the refinement, the mood and technique of the alchemy grandmaster at the time, and all kinds of other things could be figured out. Vaguely, Yang Kai's thoughts followed the traces of the pill that had been refined countless years ago and entered a new world. In that new world, all kinds of mysteries about alchemy were presented to him one by one. With a subtle mood, Yang Kai was intoxicated, imprinting every detail into his divine sense, allowing his understanding of alchemy to rise to a new level. Gathering all these traces together and gradually reconstructing the situation at that time, Yang Kai seemed to see the scene of the Saint Pill's initial formation, covered by the pill cloud, appearing in front of him. Yang Kai didn't move, grit his teeth, and glared at the young man with a ferocious expression. You've got some backbone? Yi Feng sneered, his yuan qi surging out from his hand, seemingly wanting to teach Yang Kai a lesson. Enough, Yi Feng. The old man suddenly raised his hand, stopping him from whipping Yang Kai, turning a slightly curious look towards Yang Kai and smiling. Human, you have some skill. If I'm not mistaken, your physique isn't inferior to an average saint, right? Is that so, leader? Yi Feng's expression changed as he said in surprise, but his cultivation is only at the first-order transcendent realm. He must have persisted in tempering his body, which is why he has today's achievements. He actually has such a strong body at such a young age. It's amazing. The old man had a look of praise and then asked, how did you do it? Being whipped 10,000 times a day, anyone can do it, Yang Kai grinned. It's a stupid method, but it makes sense. The old man didn't know if he knew that Yang Kai was just being perfunctory or not, but he didn't pursue the matter and simply said, because you are a human, I spared your life and didn't kill you on the spot. If you were from the demon race, you wouldn't have been so lucky. Saying so, the old man's expression became cold as he quickly said, boy, I'll ask you some questions. If your answers satisfy me, I can let you live a few more days. If not, you know the consequences. Under the eaves, Yang Kai could only nod. Do you have some kind of relationship with the demon race? No relationship. No relationship? Then why are you here? Where did you come in from? The seabed. In one of the ancient ruins there was a void corridor. My companion and I were being chased by a master and had no choice but to enter that void corridor. After we recovered, we found ourselves here. When Yang Kai was speaking, the old man stared at him closely, seemingly wanting to see if he was lying. After he finished speaking, the old man frowned and said, tell me what happened to you in detail. Under the other party's intense gaze, Yang Kai didn't hide anything and recounted his previous encounter. This old man's strength was unfathomable and Yang Kai didn't know if he had some kind of special ability. Lying at this time could be counterproductive. Escaping from the hands of a Saint Realm master? The old man looked surprised. Your skill isn't small. It was just good luck. I almost died. The old man nodded lightly, agreeing with Yang Kai's explanation. Why do you think I have something to do with the demon race? Also, where is my companion now? What is her situation? Yang Kai asked. Boy, you ask a lot of questions, Yi Feng coldly snorted. The old man also frowned, apparently not very happy with Yang Kai asking so many questions, but he still said, because only those from the demon race can enter this place, you are the first humans to arrive here. As for your companion, you don't need to worry, she is fine, only her freedom has been restricted. Asterisk pa 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 pa. Asterisk light bangs rang out incessantly as each Sun Clan cultivator was struck at least 100 times, and in the blink of an eye 4 or 5 of them died on the spot, none of them surviving. Yang Kai turned around and stared at the giant divine tree behind him with trembling eyes. At this moment, there was no wind around them, but the divine tree was still rustling noisily as its lush branches and leaves writhed madly. From the crown of the divine tree, visible golden energy drooped down. These energies were like thick and long whips, incomparably sharp. The dead Sun Clan cultivator were all struck by these light whips. The ground was littered with blood and dismembered corpses, and a strong smell of blood filled the air. Yang Kai clearly felt that the divine tree was emitting a violent and hysterical mood, seemingly angered by the attitude of these people towards Yang Kai just now. Yang Kai was completely dumbfounded, never having expected such a sudden turn of events. He had only returned those fruits because he didn't want to cause any trouble. After all, he wasn't sure if he could escape from this place, let alone find a way to escape. Although he knew better than anyone that the divine tree had developed its own consciousness and was very different from before, he hadn't expected that it would act on his behalf and attack him in such a violent and direct manner. There was no need for any kind of strategy in its attacks. The massive amount of energy that was born from its body was the sharpest attack in the world. Yang Kai. And Linger's tender body trembled as she tightly clutched onto Yang Kai's clothes, her beautiful eyes widening as a look of confusion appeared on her face. Yang Kai regained his composure and quickly transmitted his divine sense to the divine tree, its furious mood gradually calming down. The energy whips dropped down and picked up the fruits that had fallen to the ground before delivering them to Yang Kai. Why does it seem to have a consciousness? Linger's mind was in chaos as she stared blankly at the divine tree behind her. How should I explain this? Yang Kai smiled bitterly. While they were talking, the energy whips of the divine tree retracted and picked up all the fruits on its branches, handing them to Yang Kai in a fit of pique. There were a total of 60 to 70 fruits, each one filled with an unimaginable amount of energy. Yang Kai took a deep breath, feeling that this time he wouldn't be able to resolve this peacefully. The divine tree was only showing him good intentions. In its opinion, killing those people wasn't a big deal at all, it was simply helping Yang Kai. However, its violent attacks also caused Yang Kai's eyes to light up. Each of the nearby Sun Clan cultivator was a transcendent, but they still couldn't resist the divine tree's indiscriminate bombardment and were instantly killed. A sharp light flashed across Yang Kai's eyes as a cold light flashed across his eyes, the corners of his mouth gradually rising. This time, perhaps there was an opportunity. I'll lift the seal on your body, you take care of yourself. Yang Kai quickly said to Enlinger, sending his yuan qi and divine sense into her body at the same time. Yang Kai hadn't placed the seal on Enlinger's body in his eyes, it was only because he didn't want to attract too much attention that he didn't lift it, but now that things had developed to a point where it was difficult to resolve, he had no choice but to take a gamble. In the blink of an eye, Enlinger felt her yuan qi begin to flow again and the seal on her knowledge sea shattered, allowing her to regain her freedom. In the next moment, countless figures rushed over from all directions. The divine tree's riot had obviously alarmed the Sun Clan, so the cultivator who had rushed over all had powerful auras and was clearly not weak. Chapter 777. However, at this moment her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent, and her yuan qi was like a poisonous snake, exuding a dangerous aura, causing anyone who saw her to shudder. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed as he silently cursed Go Che for being such a fool. For no reason at all, he had actually provoked such a woman. When he arrived here, he didn't dare to release his divine sense to investigate carefully, but it wasn't until this woman took action just now that he realized Go Che seemed to have provoked a powerful master. The other party had clearly noticed that someone was spying on her, so the moment they left the lake, she had taken action. Go Che, on the other hand, had a reckless look on his face as he shouted, "Smelly woman, you dare hit me? So what if I hit you?" The woman glanced over at Go Che coldly. "If you dare speak rudely again, I'll kill you. Do you have such courage?" Go Che grinned wickedly. "I dare you to lay a finger on me." As soon as these words were spoken, a sharp energy beam suddenly shot towards Go Che, piercing through his shoulder while he was completely unprepared. Blood spurted out like a fountain as Go Che's face went pale as he stared blankly at the woman in the sky. He hadn't expected that the other party would really attack him without saying a word, and the sharp pain in his shoulder caused him to panic a little. Although he was a rogue, lecherous, and somewhat reckless, he wasn't stupid. Judging from the methods this woman had used over and over again, even if he was at his peak, he wouldn't be able to resist. With a bloody hole in his shoulder, Go Che became much more obedient. Although his expression was still angry, he didn't dare to speak casually, instead just staring at the woman with hatred. "Humans?" The woman curiously glanced over at Yang Kai and Enling, her brow furrowing slightly. "When did the demon race and the human race start colluding together? Interesting." Yang Kai's expression darkened as he silently shielded Enling behind him, his yuan qi surging as he prepared to act at any moment. A disdainful sneer burst from the woman's delicate nose as she walked down from the sky, flicking her wet hair as she glanced over at Go Che and the demon race man. "Your yuan qi and divine sense have been sealed. Was it this human boy's doing?" Go Che didn't say anything, but the other demon race man slowly shook his head and explained, "It wasn't him, we were just trapped in a certain place and had our strength sealed. It was thanks to this human that we were able to escape." "Useless." The woman's expression became cold. "You think my demon race men need to rely on a human's means to survive? What qualifications do you have to live with you?" With that said, he flicked his slender fingers and several bursts of energy shot out. Shio shio. Several bloody holes immediately appeared on the demon race man's body as he let out a muffled groan. The man half knelt on the ground, gasping for breath, his eyes filled with panic and horror. The woman didn't kill him, seemingly just dissatisfied that he had borrowed Yang Kai's power and punished him slightly. "So you have some skill?" The woman looked at Yang Kai with interest as she sent a cold wave of spiritual energy over Yang Kai's body, examining him from head to toe. "You're not that strong." The woman disdainfully withdrew her attention from Yang Kai. After pondering for a while, the woman sneered and said, "Daring to be rude to me, your courage isn't small. You should be taught a lesson, but I'm in a good mood today, so I won't kill you for the time being. Come back with me." Saying so, with a wave of her jade hand, a chariot-like artifact appeared out of thin air. In the middle of this chariot was a huge bed wrapped in a pink curtain that gave off a delicate fragrance. Yang Kai looked around and found that Go Che and the other man from the demon race were also standing here, both of their expressions filled with fear and dread, like mice seeing a cat, trembling in fear. "Master, everyone is here," Xueli's subordinate reported softly. Xueli nodded lightly, slowly opening her beautiful dreamy eyes and glancing around, slowly straightening her body and stretching her waist. With this action of hers, the short shirt on her upper body was pulled open, revealing her flat and fair belly and delicate navel. Spring filled the air. Besides Yang Kai, who had been staring at her, no one dared to look at her. Xueli's sharp eyes immediately turned towards Yang Kai, causing him to feel as if he had been burned. Yang Kai instantly felt some pain on his face, but his expression didn't change, remaining calm. Xueli didn't seem to have any intention of pursuing such a trivial matter, simply opening her mouth and saying, "Go Qiong has replied. Go Che's body trembled as he pursed his dry lips, looking up at Xueli, his face twitching as he asked softly, what was his attitude? Haha, you're his son, now that you've fallen into my hands, what attitude do you think he would have? And your old man paid enough ransom to redeem you. Hearing this, Go Che's expression changed, a mix of relief and panic. Relief was that he could finally leave Xueli's place, but panic was that when he returned home, he would inevitably be beaten again. This kind of contradictory mood was intuitively displayed on his face, making his expression look particularly interesting. What about me? The other demon race man asked in a low voice. You were also redeemed. Xueli nodded lightly, smiling as she stared towards Yang Kai meaningfully. You were also redeemed, as well as this little human girl. Go Qiong redeemed all of you. And Ling froze for a moment before a happy expression appeared on her face. On the other hand, Go Che and the other demon race man both showed a surprised look upon hearing this, glancing towards Yang Kai before lowering their heads, their expressions complicated. Yang Kai frowned, not only not showing the slightest joy, his expression instead becoming gloomy as he muttered, Are all you demon race people so generous? Chem? Xueli's brow rose as she stared at Yang Kai, suddenly smiling. Go Qiong isn't generous, just this once. The ransom you asked for isn't small, right? Yang Kai stared at her deeply, even facing one of the 4 demon generals, he didn't show the slightest fear, instead maintaining a calm expression. It's not much, but it's not a small amount, enough for Go Qiong to be annoyed for a while. Xueli smiled and nodded, staring at Yang Kai with interest. In front of her, few people could be as calm and natural as Yang Kai, even Go Qiong's son was somewhat timid. Comparing the two, Xueli suddenly felt that this human was quite interesting. At the very least, his courage was great, even better than many of the demon races.